afternoon. Today is January 9th, 2018. This is our first meeting, school board meeting for the new year. And it seems like it's been a year since we had a board meeting, and it has been a year, 2017, 2018. And I think you can hear me now. See, it's been a whole year. You might see some deficiencies up here. We have push to talk today, and this will change for us. So I just recognize the change to y'all. To start out this meeting, I ask you to put your phones on silence if you don't mind. Welcome to the meeting this year. Happy New Year to everybody. We have a quorum. All 7 board members are here. And I think it's great to lead off this meeting with our invocation and pledge allegiance. Invocation with Todd Sutton and pledge allegiance with Teresa Grant. Let us stand, please.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all your many blessings, Lord. We just thank you for the season that we just came through, Lord, the Christmas season, Lord. We just thank you for allowing us all to be safe, Lord, in our travels. Lord, we just thank you for the school system and what they mean to each and every one of us. But more importantly, Lord, the safety that was shown through this snowstorm that we received last week, Lord. And our main objective was make sure that each and every one got to school and home safely, Lord. And I appreciate everybody who was involved in those decisions, Lord. I think they were the best for everybody that was involved. Lord, we just ask that you be with us as we do your work today, Lord, for Johnston County Public Schools, Lord, and let everything we say and do be lifting it up to you, Lord. And we just ask a special prayer right now, Lord, for the Jackie Stewart family, Lord. We just would love for you to just put your arms around them, give them the peace and comfort that they need in this time, Lord, of the loss of Miss Jackie. And which she meant a lot to Johnston County Public Schools, Lord. And we just ask that you be with them in the next coming weeks and months, Lord, as they just celebrate her life, but also try to move on, Lord, with her being gone and up with you today. Lord, we just also ask that you be with Chris Bingston and his family, Lord, as he has got cancer, Lord, and he was in the surgery for 11 hours on Friday, Lord, and just saw a message where he's still having trouble breathing. And Lord, we just ask that you be with his wife and children as they stand by and to let him gain his strength, Lord, in these coming days where he can just fight this fight, Lord. Lord, we just ask you to lift each and every one up that's presenting today. In your loving name we do pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no public comments today. Approval of the December 12th, 2017 minutes. You've had time to review those minutes and entertain a motion. Motion by Dr. Smith, seconded by Vice Chair Johnston. Any questions on those minutes? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Discussion and adjustment to agenda, starting with Mr. Johnson. Ms. Grant. Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. In light of the recent winter weather that we've all endured, the superintendent and staff will have a recommendation on how to go about dealing with the 3 days we were out of school, as well as the day that we observed an early dismissal. We would add that under my section 6.A.2, if approved.
One adjustment to the agenda, 6.A.2. Entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Teresa Grant, seconded by Todd Sutton. Any questions to that adjustment? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Renfro. Excuse me. Comments from the chairman and board members. We're going to start with Todd Sutton today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's great to be back. Like I said in the prayer, it's just I just commend each and every one who had decisions in the winter weather that we had. It's always good to err on the side of caution rather than having one student or one staff member in an accident. I would rather stay out another day to make sure that everybody gets to and from school safely. And I think everyone that was involved did a great job in making sure that happened. So thank you all for that. Hope everyone had a good Christmas season and good New Year. I was telling my daughter this morning, she was out 24 days, so basically like a summer break. So she's coming back. So it's kind of interesting to see that, but sometimes winter weather has its ways of making us miss a few more days. But glad to be back and enjoyed Riverdale today. The lunch was great and the kids were great. It's just awesome to see a lot of different things going on in the classrooms. And the one classroom that stands out, it did not have a desk in it. It had couches. It had lounge chairs. It had these little flexible seats that Amazon is giving to Riverdale when they're returned, and they're getting 18 more, and I think they were $70 a piece. So flexible seating in that classroom seems to be an awesome thing. And some of the kids that were carrying us around said they were in that class last year, and everybody gets to pick where they want to sit. So it's a pretty cool atmosphere, and just seeing them collaborate and learning was great. So great to be back.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Ms. Grant?
I also hope everybody had a wonderful extended holiday with the winter weather. It's great to be back. Nice to start off the new year at Riverdale, like Mr. Sutton said. The SGA leaders escorted us around. It's always really neat to work with the students and let them lead us and guide us and tell us what's going on. And you can just tell they're excited to have the opportunity to do that. As Todd said, the flexible seating was really cool. And one of the things that the teachers shared too was once they reached a certain number, I think maybe 70 seats at that school, then they were going to offer that to other schools. So something to keep in mind if you're interested in the flexible seating. But just a joy to be there, a joy to be here today with each of you, and look forward to a great new year.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Vice Chair Johnston?
You to death. Thank you. Okay. I just wanted to say, you almost made me forget where I was supposed to start from. I was just want to mention that about Riverwood, but first of all, I'm happy to be back on the grounds of North Carolina. I've been out in California since mid-December. I'm so glad to be back. I could hug every one of you because I was out there freezing. It was cold, and it was, fine during the day, but at night it was blistering cold. And then I got sick too. You don't want to hear the rest of it. But be back. As a matter of fact, I told someone when the limousine picked us up at the airport, I actually fell falling into the seat. So glad to be back. And that's really how I felt, because we had to go through San Jose first, I think, after we left Los Angeles, and then to Denver, Colorado, and then to Raleigh-Durham. So I was really, really happy. So a lot to, but most of all, I'm glad to be back because I did get sick while I was there. Won't tell you the rest. Well, I was so happy. Did I kill it? Oh. I was so happy to be back that it all just blew my mind. And so I'm just glad that I'm here and back with my fellow board members, my superintendent, my board administrative assistant, everybody. I just love you all. I'm glad to see the ground, the soil of North Carolina. Thank you. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention about Riverdale Elementary School. I like to commend the principal there. I'm glad we got him back. He did a fabulous job, and his tour guide, they all did wonderful. But that flex, it was so much learning taking place there. You wonder, how did you learn when you were in school? Because there's so much going on at one time. But everyone is learning. You could tell that. So, and I do want to mention that one of the tour guides was Mrs. Gill's son, who did us a outstanding job. And I mean, he wasn't afraid of his mama one bit. He took the floor and he just went right on with us and explained things to us. And when I was a little late getting back with the group, he'd come get me and say, "Miss Johnston, it's time to go." So I just wanted to share that with you. I enjoyed it today very much so, and glad to be back.
He sounds sort of pushy like his mama does.
Push to talk.
Mr. Hall.
I don't think I have much to say, Mr. Chairman. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the superintendent and his staff and to all those people who are involved in transportation, take the responsibility of making sure our children get to and from school safely. The 36,000 of those people that we have to be very careful that all of them and each of them have the opportunity to not only to get to school but to get back home safely. And so my sincere thanks to the superintendent and his staff and people involved in the transportation system for all the work they do, not just when we have inclement weather, but every day these children get on school buses to come to school and then have to get on those buses and go back home. And we've been very blessed over the years in this, so making sure that our children are safe. So thank you, Mr. Superintendent, and all your people who are responsible for getting our children to and from school. And your decisions are good decisions. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Hall. Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am so thankful that we had safety through the storm. Loved the visit to Riverdale Elementary today. Mr. Jewett is a welcomed back addition. There's so many awesome things happening. There are 1,075 children in that school, and I promise you all 1,075 of them were learning. As Mr. Sutton alluded, I am so sad to learn of the passing of Jackie Stewart, school social worker. She worked with me at East Clayton, and I can promise you she was such a voice for the voiceless and a true champion for children. I could tell you stories that would just make you weep, but she never lost faith in those children and would do whatever it took to make sure those children were safe. I'd like to express thanks to Dr. Renfro and the staff, those who were out examining roads, the custodians who made sure the sidewalks were clear, the bus drivers who went in frigid weather to crank buses to make sure that they would be ready for children, to the administrators who were caring and so careful to assure safety always. And I'm looking forward to a great 2018. Thank you for your being here today.
Thanks, Dr. Smith. Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's start by, again, with Mr. Sutton and Dr. Smith, extending my condolences, as does the whole board, to the Stewart family. I had the opportunity to hear a lot about Ms. Stewart, and certainly the condolences with her family, and it's just a great loss to everyone, including the school system. Thankful to be here, and from someone who had to go to work in this weather, it was the right decision to cancel school and keep these kids and our faculty at home. Saw a lot of wrecks, a lot of car crashes. Very thankful for your decision making and your leadership on this issue, Dr. Renfro and cabinet members. I'm out and about in the community a lot, and I usually have to work when others take off. And typically when you ride by a school, you don't see a lot going on. But the day after Christmas when I was working, our facility staff was hard at it, some of them, out there working and checking on our schools when everyone else was off. So I would like to extend my thanks to everyone at facilities who works hard when we're not here. You are not forgotten, and we certainly do appreciate you. And again, working all the time, I run into a lot of people, and we get a lot of endorsements from people. I tell Dr. Renfro he's doing a great job. Someone may write a letter, or, all kinds of endorsements, but none's better than one from our own. I had a young lady come up to me who I knew her mom when I was working off duty at Grandsons, and she wanted me to tell Miss Patelos, who I've never met. I believe she works at Wilson Mills Elementary, but Miss Patelos, Olivia wants you to know that you are doing a great job and to keep on doing what you're doing. So that's the strongest kind of endorsement, and that speaks to the caliber of people we have working at Johnston County Schools in our classroom. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson. I appreciate my board members' comments today, and kudos to the senior staff and local school administrators for weathering the storm and riding the roads to make sure that they're safe for our students. And you don't realize how big Johnston County is until you start riding the roads, the country roads that, it's the 70s and 42s and and 95s will get clear, but it's the back roads that stay iced up because of the trees and shade and those type items. So I think you hit about every road in Johnston County, Dr. Renfro and your staff, and you're putting lives at risk when you do that. But we're protecting the children of Johnston County, and I appreciate y'all's commitment to that. One thing that really stuck out to me today in our school visit, which gives us an opportunity to go into the learning facilities in Johnston County, is the community and parental volunteerism they have at Riverdale Elementary. And they have a program called the Watchdog Program, where granddads and fathers volunteer to help teachers out in the classroom or wherever in the school, the custodians, building shelves for our mobile units. Anything that's asked of them, they volunteer to do that. And we saw a couple of them in the school today. There was men everywhere in the school, and that's exciting to see. They're wearing their Watchdog shirt and just helping out anywhere they can in the school. And that speaks volumes for a local community supporting their school, and it's very much appreciated by staff and students. And another thing that stuck out in the meeting today is the students talking about random acts of kindness and how Riverdale is supporting acts of kindness not only from the staff but from the students. The students, they have tissue boxes where students can put names in of fellow students that had some type of random act of kindness. And one thing I do know about supporting kindness is you learn it at a younger age. You're going to do it the rest of your life, and be compassionate to other people. And they're learning that at Riverdale Elementary, and that's so important. So kudos to Mr. Jewett and everything that's going on in Riverdale. And you can talk about mobiles and the negative impact of mobiles, but they seem to be excited. Even the mandates that come from Raleigh that are unfunded, and they're making arrangements at Riverdale to support this mandate of smaller classroom sizes, and they're having to move teachers everywhere in the school. But I heard not one negative comment about making those arrangements to meet that mandate. And the excitement that I saw in the classrooms today is exciting to me. So it was a great meeting. Thank you all for your comments, and thank you, Mr. Jewett, for what you're doing at Riverdale.
Mr. Chairman, we have two of our student leaders with us today that I'd like to take this time to recognize. First, Nicholas Moston from West Johnston High School. Nicholas, glad to have you with us today. And also Camille Eweiss. Camille is representing Middle College and the Career and Technical Leadership Academy. So Camille, glad you're here as well. And gentlemen, you are welcome to stay as long as you would like to see your Board of Education at work for what you do each and every day as student leaders in the district, but also knowing that you probably have other commitments on your schedule. So whenever you feel like you need to excuse yourselves, you feel free to do so. So thank you both for being here today. Mr. Chairman, this time I would ask that the board approve consent items 6A, 1A through 6A, 1K.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Butler Hall, seconded by Todd Sutton. Any questions about the consent agenda? Consent items? If not, all those in favor? All those opposed, motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, next was our addition to the agenda, and I'll ask Mr. Vetrano to approach the podium. Whenever you do an early dismissal or when you cancel school for students and staff, probably the next question you get within 10 minutes' time is, when are we making this up? And so we put our heads together over the winter weather opportunity and came up with a recommendation for you yesterday afternoon. And Mr. Vetrano, in his role working with the calendar committee, I'd asked him if he would just share with you all what our recommendation is.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Renfro. After considering many options, one option certainly is looking at waiving student days. That is the option that we are recommending to you for students based on the fact that the calendar that this board approved meets the requisite number of instructional hours for students, meaning that not only have we met those instructional hours, but that due to our schedules that are currently in place, we've actually exceeded those hours, which is a good opportunity for us given the wintry weather that we've experienced. So given that we have exceeded the required number of instructional hours, it affords us the opportunity to waive student days, which preserves the calendars in all of our schools, which we believe parents and students will appreciate, especially if they've already made plans on work days and other breaks throughout the remainder of the year. They will not have to go back now and reschedule any events that they have. So on each of the calendars, I know you've had an opportunity to see those. We have 5 different calendars for our school system, as you are aware, and they're all very similar in the fact that students miss 3 days. So the recommendation is that we would waive those 3 days. Staff, because yesterday was an optional work day, the building was closed for staff for 2 days. So it's a little different for students and for staff. The requirement for students is the instructional hours being met. The requirement for staff is following a 215-day calendar. So the option is not there to waive days for staff. So what we would simply do on each of these calendars, as you have seen, is add 2 optional work days at the end of the year. This is something that we've done in the past. It will not be new to our staff. And again, the key word there is optional work days. I want to make sure people understand that. So on each of these calendars, the traditional North Johnston Middle, Cooper Academy, Early College, on each of those you will see that the 4th and 5th became non-days, the 8th became a work day, and then depending on the ending date for each of those calendars, we added 2 optional work days. The exception is the 5th calendar, which is the year-round calendar, South Smithfield and Early Smithfield. For them, just a minor change. January 4th and 5th were already, what do we call those days? Intercession. Thank you, Dr. Price. Intercession days. And so the entire student body was not already in place on those days, and January 8th was already a scheduled work day. So the only change on that calendar will be changing the intercession days for January 4th and 5th to non-days. So that is the recommendation that we are bringing to the board.
So we have an action item of adjustment to all the school calendars as recommended by Dr. Renfro and Mr. Vetrano. Entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Johnston, second by Teresa Grant. Any questions?
Question. The intercession schools,
Yes, sir.
South Smithfield and,
West Smithfield.
okay. That's what I thought. I didn't hear the West Smithfield part, but that's why I was asking. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
If we should have other days, we would then have to go to our built-in makeup days, is that correct?
Depends on the number of days, and we would scrutinize the number. You know, if we have 6 more days, very possibly we may have to go into that. But if it's possibly another day and a half, you know, we may be able to wring enough minutes of instructional time out of it so that we could possibly waive that. But it all depends on the severity of the next potential winter weather event, if there is one, and good Lord willing, there won't be.
Very good, although the almanac calls for a brutal February and March. My next question is, last year we made arrangements to help drivers only, bus drivers only, make up those days. I hope that there will be similar plans this year to give them some help in making up those days.
Yes,
that
ma'am. And as
even
you
though
know,
they don't work on work days, and so they've actually lost those days. And I just want to make sure that's on the radar.
correct.
Thank you.
In fact, I know you mentioned bus drivers, and that's something that we've discussed already, but also our 9-month employees, such as school nutrition, 9-month teacher assistants do not typically work. We did allow them to come in and work yesterday on Monday so that they would be, have a day that they could come in and earn a salary for that day. Thank you.
Good questions. Any more questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Vetrano.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, Lady Vice Chair, we'll probably do a Connect Ed message and just let everyone know what our decision has been today so that, you know, it truly is a prevalent question. People want to know how we're going to make this up, when are we going to make it up. So Ms. Roberts will send something out this evening to make sure all of our folks in the Connect Ed world know what is going on.
That's a great idea.
Dr. Price.
Dr. Price.
Good afternoon, Mr. Board Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, and Mr. Jim Lawrence. Today I have 5 items. 4 are informational and 1 is an action item. Exhibit item 6B1, the metric and the explanation of how it will be used to measure the progress of innovations, including but not limited to Restart, South Smithfield, and West Smithfield proposals, is an information item. Academic Innovation is developing a comprehensive evaluation system to evaluate Restart schools and new innovations. This presentation explains the logic model surrounding program evaluation, the specifics of Restart evaluation, and how program evaluation will evolve this year. I would like to invite Christy Stevenson, Executive Director of Testing and Accountability, and Jenna McKill, Director of School Improvement, to review the metric and the process with you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Lady Vice Chair, Board of Education, and Dr. Renfro. As we embark on evaluating programs, there are some essential questions that need to be answered before we begin assigning any kind of values or making judgments regarding innovative practices and programs. These key questions are: what exactly will be evaluated and what is the context in which it exists? What aspects of the program will be considered when judging the program's performance? What standards must be reached for the program to be considered successful? What evidence will be used to indicate how the program has performed? What conclusions can we draw based off of the evidence collected compared to the standards evaluated? And how can the lessons learned from this inquiry be used to improve program effectiveness? The framework in which we use to evaluate our programs comes from the Centers of Disease Control. It's used in the medical industry. And as you can see of the questions I just posed, this framework presented here allows for these questions to be answered in a systematic way. While there are several subpoints to address when completing each step within this system, they are also governed by the standards of utility, feasibility, propriety, and accuracy. As we begin to think about program evaluation, it's important to focus on the evaluation design. The purpose of the evaluation must be clearly defined. There are basically two types of evaluations. A process evaluation, which focuses on the implementation and the use and ways that the program can be improved to meet the initiative or the program's function, as well as outcome or impact evaluation, which is often done after several years of implementation to assess the effectiveness of the program or intervention. Logic models, as the one presented here, can be used to help a school or the district measure and track a program's progress at any step along the way. You'll see in the logic model, once the need is established and strategies are designed, activities to address that strategy are then developed, and then the monitoring of both short-term goals are established, intermediate goals, and then long-term goals. This is the framework with which we will do evaluations of our current programs and innovative practices to come. Today you will hear Mr. Johnston and Ms. Flores speak to the progress the Restart schools are making along their journey. As the district's number of Restart schools increase, I think we're up to 6 schools now that will be going through the Restart process, this measure or framework will be used to measure the program's effectiveness. Jenna passed out to you a framework in which schools use in their school improvement planning process to determine what their program at their schools will look like. Our Restart schools will be presenting their progress twice a year to the board. The winter evaluations will center around more about the implementation of their programs at their schools, how their resources are being used, what changes in climate and culture have occurred, and the progress they've made on their wildly important goals as reflected in their school improvement plans. During the winter evaluations, a lot of the data will be more qualitative versus quantitative. And then in the spring, we expect to have more quantitative data for you as it becomes available. As a reminder, in Johnston County, when we look at state assessment data, the state model is an 80-20 model with 80% focused on achievement and 20% on growth. In Johnston County, we feel that growth should be weighted most heavily. And with these innovative practices, focusing on personalization and what is in the best interest for students, we should see our growth continue to climb in Johnston County schools. In year 1 and 2, anytime you implement something new, there is the expectation that there may be an implementation dip. So while in quantitative data, we may see a decline the first few years of implementation, we expect by year 3 to see those gains. However, with growth, we would anticipate to continue to see that positive climb. New innovations in our district, including IB, AVID, Innovation Academy, and Choice Academy, will also be using the same framework to evaluate the programs there. Though each program is unique, we will use this for consistency, use the same framework, and reports to the board will be made on a regular basis. In each of these evaluations, the various data sources that will be used is stakeholder perception data. How is that culture and climate changing over time? What is the resource alignment? Looking at student growth and achievement data, as well as any other key data points that may shed light on the program's effectiveness. Programs like AVID and IB have their own set of evaluations that we will be using, but we will also be pulling pertinent information for us as well. Just like with the restart schools, with our innovative programs, we are likely to see that implementation dip, but by year 3, we believe that we will see gains. In December, you heard from West Smithfield and South Smithfield. These theme schools also will be evaluated based off of the themes presented at that school. And so our goal here is to be very transparent in the evaluation and the innovation within our district. So,
Any questions?
You talked about a qualitative and quantitative analysis of our progress, and I'm looking specifically, and if you guys need some time to answer this, that's fine, at the progress measurement stage, that we're looking at winter and spring of 2018, I think that's where, and we're talking about data triangulation, and, do you know what we're going to be cross-referencing to triangulate as far as, what sources we're going to be using to evaluate your quantitative and qualitative aspects of this?
Well, anytime we triangulate data, what we want to use is academic data and perception data. So we want to determine culture as well as the progress of students. So unless Christy has more specifics there, we're talking about student growth, student proficiency, achievement, and then you're talking about the conditions in the building, whether or not the staff is happy with what's going on, the students are happy, and the parents are happy. So we have to weigh heavily the stakeholders' perception of what's happening in the building.
and in addition to that, formative measures of progress can be used to kind of triangulate what our expected summative data should be too. So all of that in conjunction together.
But you are expecting, as you said, I think a couple times, you're expecting a downslide in the progress or some type of, when you do these evaluation tools, when you look, when you do this data triangulation and you do the, look at your sources for your cross verification, you are expecting a downslide. You're expecting some, I don't want to say negative results, but a definitely decline in performance, correct?
Typically, there's a new innovation, or if you think about even when we have new standards, when the state produces new standards, we see a dip, especially in achievement data. And that's largely due to teachers themselves. They've got to find their comfort level. They may be uncertain, so performance may drop some, but as we do this, as we become more comfortable in what we're doing, then you should see the achievement rise.
Dr. Price, when you're talking about feedback, you want to find out if the students are happy, the parents are happy, the teachers are happy. Excuse me, is that through surveys or?
That's
okay.
correct, yes,
okay.
sir. And I'll add, Mr. Johnston, that the implementation dip is actually a researched phenomena. It's so we don't just simply say, yeah, it's going to happen. It's researched, and in most cases it does. Now, do we hope that it doesn't? That's correct. But new processes and procedures often do cause a little bit of uneasiness that can affect our outcomes.
There's a bit of subconscious and conscious resistance to change and learning curve, for lack of better words.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Anyone else?
Stop after this. Do you have a timeline, and I may have missed it in this informative chart, but do you have a timeline when we have tangible quantitative results in front of us?
So with quantitative results, what we're hoping to do is have formative measures built along the way. But when you speak of quantitative, then at the end of the year with our tested areas, you have achievement and growth that we can lean on, and that's in year 1. So, yes, sir.
So this summer.
I just got one thing. Too. I've said this before, but as being a parent and of North Johnston Middle School, as well as having a teacher, my wife being there, the climate, just the whole perception of the school this year is by far different from the previous year when my daughter was there. And I've also heard the same thing from Cooper Academy. It's the excitement in the community, how they're collaborating together. The community is getting more involved and doing more things, and it's getting out in the Clayton area. So the perception of the schools, both of them that we have in Restart, is just second to none compared to what it has been in the past. And just reading some of the comments on social media from the parents that have been involved in different items that they've had at the school, and them talking about how exciting it is to go in and how warm it feels to be welcomed. And then the kids coming home and telling them what they learned today and how excited they were to tell them something rather than them having to pull it out of them, is been great to see. So I know we may see a little bit of dip, but the climate and the things that I'm hearing is it's exciting.
Well, it's obviously culture and climate. You know, you have happy people and good things will happen. So, thank you. And I want to say that Christy and Jenna do a tremendous job. And they're just excellent resources. So I really appreciate what they do.
Thank you both, Christy and Jenna. Outstanding job. Appreciate your work every day.
Speaking of Restart, exhibit item 6B2 is an update from our 2 current Restart schools. It's an information item. In August, Cooper Academy and North Johnston Middle School reopened under Restart status. Per board request, each school undergoing Restart will make presentations to the board at least twice a year, describing their processes, changes, successes, and challenges. Included will be a district evaluation of the process that you just heard. At this time, I'd like to call up Brian Johnston, principal at North Johnston Middle School, and Josel Flores, principal of Cooper Academy, who will give their mid-year update to the Board of Education.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, School Board, and Dr. Renfro. Thank you for having me here today, and Ms. Flores to represent our Restart schools here today. I will say that I'm going first because her presentation is probably going to be a lot more detailed and elaborate with her presentation. But instead of me having graphs in my presentation, I'd rather you invite you to come to my school and see the progress that way. But she's going to be put on a great presentation for you after me. Just preface that for you. At North Johnston, we started communicating a little bit more about Restart right from the actual Restart being approved. So in the presentation, we had 2 parent meetings. We had an orientation open house. We've met with Parent Advisory Council and PTA members to discuss what Restart is about, why we are doing certain things, get their input, and find out what the community is thinking and what the parents and our students are thinking as well. So that's how we've started communicating that. We have links on our website. I'm trying to tweet as much as possible. That's still a new thing for me too. So bear with me on that. We have put things in local newspapers. The thing that shows up in local newspapers sometimes is the word charter in all bold, but that is not the case. That's not what we are. We are still a public school. But we have put that out there. Connect Eds and Restart flyers. And you can get one of those Restart flyers if you come and visit me at North Johnston Middle School anytime you want. So it's an open invite. Fridays are very interesting, which you'll see. So more than welcome to come out on a Friday as well. What we did with the Restart process, we actually changed our daily schedule. Monday through Thursday, we have an extended day, and also we have early release every single Friday. We have the embedded professional development every Friday with our staff. So the first Friday of every month, we start with the Innovative Mindset book study that we're doing all year. The second Friday, we talk about personalized learning and student choice. How can we bring more of that into the classroom? The third Friday, we're doing social and emotional development of how can we meet the social and emotional needs of our students instead of always suspending someone or having a discipline consequence. How can we better meet their needs and their emotional levels? And the fourth, and if there is a fifth Friday in the month, are administrative Fridays, to where we look back at what we need over the course of the month and develop that based on school improvement teams' decisions. So that's kind of how our professional development has been taking place. It's progressing very well. We have talked a lot about theory and how to do certain things, and now we're talking about the action. So we're actually developing those plans, unit plans they're using within the classroom within our professional development on Friday. Again, if you'd like to come and visit us on our professional development, it's 1:30 to 3 on Fridays. So you're more than welcome to come and see that process. Really great discussion within that professional development as well. Fridays as well is developed as a student development, not only a staff development, but a student development day. There's no new content. There's no new assessments. There is remediation and acceleration based on what students need every single Friday. We have student seminar first thing in the morning, and we're talking about social topics. We're talking about bullying. We're talking about the use of drugs. We're talking about all these different things within our community and around our world today, because we feel like it is imperative they learn how to communicate effectively with each other and with the adults in the building. So we're starting that process. At first, they didn't take it as serious as middle schoolers might. However, after the first 2 weeks, there's some really in-depth conversation taking place. And it's amazing to hear the discussion taking place in the classroom. And that is called the Second Step program. It is a research-based program used in schools. It is that seminar program we're using. Also, we have clubs at the end of every day on Friday for our students. We had to find a way to get them more involved and give them some initiative. So we have robotics, we have running club, we have STEM-based club, we have chess club, we have boys mentor, girls mentor, campus beautification. We have 25 total clubs at our school. And students go to clubs first semester, they'll switch clubs second semester. And the feedback we're getting from students and parents is that it's great that they're offering that during the school day, because we have a lot of students at our site that cannot stay after school because of transportation issues. So that has been very beneficial for our students and a good initiative for them as well. And if I'm talking too fast, tell me to slow down. I had a cup of coffee before I came in. Also, grading practices is something else that we changed. We are going towards standards-based grading. At North Johnston Middle School. We will go full standards-based next year. We are starting the process this year, moving into that. And what we will have right now are no zeros. And we started a scale-based system. So there's 10 points for F, 10 points for D, 10 points for C, 10 points for B, and A as well. So there's only 50 points of percentages allowed at North Johnston Middle School. And what that really does is if a student does not do well on a test, what's the point of having an additional 50 points of failing? A 50 is a failing. Failing is an F. There's no need to have that zero right there on a paper. So we have decided to do that scale system at North Johnston Middle School, not to inflate grades, but to make them more impactful and meaningful, because what we are grading is less. We are now only grading learning targets. There's 100% of everything that we grade is under a learning target. So there's no more 30% classwork, 10% homework, or any of that stuff. Every grade goes under a learning target. So that is what we are doing with our standards-based grading. So that is something that is getting a little used to for our parents and for our staff, but the feedback we're getting is great because now they feel like it is a more even playing ground for our percentages. There is nothing that's practiced that's graded. So homework is not graded. If it's something that's introduced to them for the first time, we don't grade it. Because why should they know it if they haven't practiced it? So why are we grading practice? So just like if you played baseball, the game is your grade, not the practice leading up to it. The other thing that we're looking at is the limited reassessments. Why does it matter when they learn it as long as they learn it? So students have the ability to reassess as many times as they would like at North Johnston Middle School, because everything is under an assessment. The overall focus, again, is building better relationships. So building better, more meaningful relationships through innovative practices is our wildly important goal, and that's what we've concentrated on mainly this year so far is relationships. We actually did not, and you might have got a call, we did not teach any curriculum the first week and a half of school. We built relationships that whole time. So it was something that students were surprised for, parents were surprised for, and actually came up and said, thank you for learning more about me. Initial concerns that we had to have addressed were work with transportation services on some of the community members on bus routes. Those were some of the initial concerns that we had when we were starting the restart process. One of the things were we have our own fleet of buses now. So we used to ride with the high school, so when they saw the high school go by the bus stop, they thought they missed the bus. So we had to communicate a little bit more and more with parents on, we have 2 fleets of buses going by that bus stop now. So that was some of the initial concerns and a bump we did not see in the road, figuratively. So hopefully we will have a better communication with that next year. Again, bus stops were changed. they weren't in the same place as last year due to the new fleet of buses. So that was something that they had to get used to as well. It took a lot of time to restructure those bus stops, so that was an initial concern. Other initial concerns were early release Fridays. There was some feedback. They were worried about their student being home too early. We adjusted our time. Initially, our early release time was going to be 12. We changed it to 1. And we felt like if we could get 90 minutes of extremely focused professional development, we felt like that would be more beneficial for our staff instead of doing it at 12. And that adjustment in an hour was beneficial and helped them. And the parents felt better about it, but that was the initial feedback. The remediation bell schedule, as Mr. Sutton's wife can probably attest to, we have changed that 3 times. And we feel like we can do that because of Restart. We feel like that is the feeling around our building. We're okay with the word change. When we said change before, you see a head drop. You say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? Now it's change, okay, how are we going to do it? How are we going to benefit students? So we've changed that just because we've tried to find ways that are working for remediation for our students. And if it's not working, we will change it. And if what we're doing right now is continuing not to work, we will change it on Fridays. We are currently changing our bell schedule for second semester. Not the start and end times, that has to be approved by you, but the actual bell schedule within the day. We talked with our staff about that today. So we're doing things that are benefiting students again. Another initial concerns were grading. We had to figure out what was assessment versus practice, and we had to have those conversations within our community and within our building. And again, we're still working on that, but we're starting to get more of a grasp on that concept. No zeros are still a concern, but there still is creating a better understanding of student mastery. As you know, zeros were always part of grading, and we kind of want to change that, and it's hard to change something we've been doing for a very long time. Content areas had to kind of agree on proper reassessment and what the reassessment would look like. So we had to start rebuilding those with our teachers and our content areas. So that was an initial concern, and we've started doing that to where reassessments look similar across all content areas. Celebrations. Positive feedback from the members of the community, the students, and the staff. There, as Mr. Sutton alluded to earlier, there's a different feeling within our building this year. There is excitement. You felt it on orientation. You felt it on open house. We had parents coming up to us saying, what is going on? People are smiling. They're happy. They're excited about this school year because we are jumping in full force and trying to do what's best for kids. We're learning more about ourselves this year than we've ever learned, and we're learning kind of our limits as well on being able to change and do what we need to do for students. So it's an exciting time at North Johnston Middle School. They're starting to collaborate more, build better relationships with each other. We are doing things during professional development that are establishing better relationships with each other, and we even had one where we sat in a circle and brought items of meaning and value to us, and there was not a dry eye in the house the whole time for about 2.5, 3 hours. We shared personal things about us and learned more about each other. So that's one example of something we're doing just to learn more about each other. Because in a school, sometimes you have your 7th grade hallway, your 8th grade hallway, your 6th grade hallway. You don't always get that time to collaborate. So we are becoming more comfortable with each other, and change in our building is definitely a celebration. Students love Fridays because we are making education relevant and fun. Staff is experiencing more focused professional development. They feel like they can get their professional development on Friday, and it's tailored to them. So technically, right now, we're creating pathways for our teachers where they at on their level, and creating a professional development pathway for each personal teacher for the rest of the school year. The better relationships, again, among staff and students. Students' grades are a more reflection of what they actually know instead of what they might not know, or procedural grading or process grading. And again, the staff continue to collaborate on what's right for students. Something that was I wanted to share that was taken out of the presentation because I'm probably going too long. Sorry. Is that an example of what we're doing right for students is we actually have some students that have a difficult time at school, and we've worked with their parents and found ways to make them motivated at school. They're working on small engines. They've fixed 3 of our staff's lawnmowers. I was going to bring my chainsaw, but I thought that would be frowned upon to school for them to fix. But they're doing things like that. We have a student working on a dirt bike as well. So we're doing different things that normal middle schools are not doing. So it does. Well, the students actually have a time built into their everyday schedule to do those things as well.
Ms. Flores, Mr. Johnston purposely used all your time, but I like competition, so I'm going to let you have the same amount of time.
I just want to, yeah, and I just want to make a comment, if you will allow me, Mr. Chairman. May I make a comment? Your professional development time
Yes, ma'am.
is the reason that I don't expect a dip. Your teachers are getting what they need when they need it. They're not waiting till next summer to go, oh, we needed to improve this, let's find out how. You're doing it the way it should have always been done, so congratulations on that. Clubs, I can't express enough what that means to middle school students. You are preparing children for life, and that's what we've said over and over and over, is that we're preparing children for college, careers, and life. And you're doing that, and you're preparing them for change. Every day they are learning to adjust to change, and that's one of the most critical adaptations that you can give a child. So commendations. I'm just so proud of you for doing what you're doing for middle schoolers. That's the fork in the road, and if they get it right in middle school, they'll be successful citizens in life, and so thank you so much.
And Dr. Smith, I think you hit it on the head, but also what I just got out of this too is they're finding out who the kids are, where they are, who they are, what their personality is, what they need, and that's so important as well. Relationships.
You'd be very proud of
that's what it
school
is.
staff. They're
working
very hard.
I think that goes along with learning who they are, Mike, and the bullying issue may not be as prevalent in the school because they're understanding that these students come from a different background and they're understanding them as a person instead of just the outside. So I think that the characters of the students speaks volumes in the school, and Reagan comes home and we'll ask her questions and she'll let us know about a certain student, but say, Dad, there's, I understand why. It's always the why, and they're understanding that from the relationships. And just to comment on the relationships with the teachers, I believe that was the Friday that my wife and I were supposed to go out of town for our anniversary. And she said, today may not be as long, we don't have a lot on the agenda, we'll be able to. And when she got home, she was just glowing because of them sitting around in a circle. And as she told me the story, she cried again. And that's what it's all about, is our teachers knowing who our teachers are in the building, because they understand that they didn't get there the same way they did. It was all different walks, and Linda appreciated that, and it wasn't something that we were upset that we were going later. It was, she gained a lot out of it, and a lot of teachers at that school I go and come in contact with, they have the same thing, and it's great that the relationships are being built.
And I do think you were the girls soccer champion,
Yes.
conference champion. Congratulations.
And just preface probably Mr. Johnston's question, because I heard him ask the group before me. We will have quantitative data after we have our iReady testing the next couple Fridays. So we have perception data right now, but that's all we have at the moment. So, yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Flores?
He did take all my time. I knew he was going to do that. That's why I wanted to go first. Well, good afternoon, Mr. Wooten, Chairman, Ms. Johnson, Vice Chair, Dr. Renfro, and the entire Johnson County Public Schools Board of Education. I am honored to be in front of you again. A lot has happened at Cooper in the year since I was before you last. So I'm going to fly through a lot of the things that are happening so I can get to the pictures, because my words don't do justice for all the excitement and the positivity that is going on at Cooper. So our vision at Cooper is to inspire all of our students to realize their potential and to be great. Our mission, our main mission, is for all of our students to attend and graduate from the college of their choice and become world-changing problem solvers. Our wildly important goal is to increase our reading proficiency school-wide by 5%. How will we do that? Through effective instruction and core integrated content. The next two slides are going to look like a bunch of bullet points. So I'm going to fly through these, like I said, to get to the pictures. But so much has happened. I know so many of you have been at our school to see all the great changes. But really, there's three themes that will present themselves in my presentation: community, curriculum, and staff support. You will hear information about that over and over, and those really are the three key areas that have allowed Cooper to become what it is at this time. So our community support, we've been blessed beyond belief to have an incredible amount of support from businesses, churches, community organizations. Our STEAM lab was created through donations, and we have secured a very strong partnership with the Floor Corporation. They have collected a substantial amount to help us develop a new STEAM playground, and in the process, we've developed a lasting relationship with this company through the community events that we've had. Many family events. We've had a live museum across our grade levels using our thematic units. We've had music concerts, STEAM nights. We have opened up our school for many innovation tours. These occurred in the spring and in the summer. We had community members, parents, come and tour our school and hear all about the positive changes taking place. We offer tours at all times of the day, weekdays, weekends, evenings, and mornings. And also, as we are walking around showing the community and talking about our school, we also were able to incorporate the history of William Mason Cooper High School into our tours. We held coffee and conversations evenings. So these were family nights with Cooper staff. We had these several evenings throughout the summertime to have fruitful, productive conversations in kind of an informal environment. We had all of our coffee and treats were donated for those. Cooper is very active on social media. So we are on fire with the treats. So we tweet every single day. We've gone from 191 followers to 417 followers this year. And on Facebook, we update our Facebook weekly, and we've increased from 44 to 250 followers on Facebook. We have a very active website. I have a blog. Check it out. And we also use Class Dojo, which is a way to communicate with parents through text and kind of daily messages back and forth. Cooper has been very privileged to be invited to present at many community organizations. We have presented at the Clayton Chamber of Commerce, the Clayton Rotary Club, multiple churches, and the Johnston County Association of Realtors. So it really does take a village. And we've had yard signs. That's the last thing on here, but I'm sure you've seen them in the community. There's one outside the A.G. Glenn Room building, but if you drive down Main Street in Clayton, you'll see them in neighborhoods, and also on our Facebook and Twitter, you'll see pictures of our families standing proudly and excitedly by their signs. Curriculum. So we have a wonderful team consisting of teachers, coaches, parents, community members, and we have developed thematic units connecting social studies and science to our literacy standards. We're fortunate to be able to have 120 minutes a day devoted to literacy and 3 wonderful learning coaches to guide our staff in professional development, pedagogy, and student data discussions every Friday. In the early release Fridays that Mr. Johnston already talked about, they have afforded us the opportunity to provide relevant and innovative PD to our staff. So a comparison from last year on average, our teachers had 12 hours of planning, 3 hours of PLC a month, and 1 hour of PD a month. That's in an average month. This year, with the changes to our schedule, we have afforded our teachers 15 hours of planning, 8 hours of PLC, and 6 hours of PD a month compared to last year. Our professional communities take place during our early release days on Friday also. We at Cooper have 3 hours to provide our wonderful staff with learning coach support during PLCs as well as professional development. Our professional development on Fridays goes from 1:15 to 4:15. We still have the Splash Dual Language program. We decided to continue this successful program, and this year we have classes K to 5 that are dual immersed. Our student growth, we're halfway through our first year of Restart. Like Mr. Johnson said, we're getting ready to implement our mid-year diagnostics in each grade level to measure student growth from the beginning of the year. We were excited in August to find out that Cooper met EVOS growth for the first time in a very long while, so that helped us start off with a celebration. We have universal free breakfast. This just started not too long ago at Cooper, and we've been privileged to provide all of our students with free universal breakfast in the classrooms. And this solved a dilemma that we encountered with our earlier bus arrivals. So our kids get to school about an hour earlier than the other elementaries. And the time that it took for our kids to go to the cafeteria, have a nutritious breakfast, and get back to the classroom, it was taking time out of our instructional day. So now our babies walk into the building, their breakfast is given to them, and they eat it together in their classrooms as a community sharing a meal together. We have wonderful school improvement innovation teams. We have a passionate, dedicated, creative staff, and these innovation teams began moving as soon as we got approval for our restart last January. And now we currently have innovation teams that meet to support our school improvement plan and to make sure that we're meeting our goals and to keep us on track. And these staff-led teams make certain that all of our staff members are involved in our school improvement plan and that our plan is a living, breathing document. We do have uniforms this year, and our uniforms have made a huge positive impact on our school environments. We've also been blessed by churches and community organizations to secure uniform donations on every hallway and in every size so that none of our families have to experience any hardship in being able to outfit their children with our contagious Cooper Academy pride. And our student data. Our grade levels collect common assessment data in reading and math bi-weekly. The data is tracked by our professional learning communities and coaches and allows us to enter the next week of school armed with the standards progression data to meet the instructional needs of our students in the coming week. We completed our first 9 weeks assessments, and we are now getting ready to give our second 9 weeks assessment. So this will offer us insight into the progression of our standards mastery. Okay, and the next few slides, I really want you to see. They're pictures, but like I said, I feel like my words can't do justice with the positive environment at Cooper. So this is a picture from our ribbon cutting with the Clayton Chamber of Commerce, and I think many of you were there that day. But it was a great day, and I am blessed to be surrounded by many great people. We have embarked on many school beautification projects. So we have improved our outside areas. We have painted every single hallway. We have beautiful quotes in every hallway. Our STEAM lab has been completely revamped, and we have made upgrades to teacher lounges as well. So aesthetic improvements linked to research for our students. And we have innovative and flexible learning environments as well, and every classroom has a classroom library. And this is a picture of our STEAM lab, so you have to come and see it. Every Monday, we start off with Monday morning meeting with our school together in a group to celebrate and to talk about character and to present all the great things that our students are doing. So Cooper is all about relationships, and I feel like these pictures really tell you the story. Really, being at Cooper tells you the story, but these pictures help. And our kids are ready to go to college, and I have a picture. Clayton High has been very, very wonderful to us as well. We have Clayton High students at our school, and it's a great partnership, but they come and mentor and tutor our students every day, and they will be future Clayton High graduates, and they will go on to college. And so the three biggest areas of improvement and celebration, like I said, are our integrated curriculum and our thematic units, our Friday 3 hours of professional development time, and the outstanding amount of community excitement and support that we have behind us. Cooper is on our journey. We're still on our journey, and we're still writing our story. We're not even halfway through our first year, and sometimes I have to remind myself that. Yes, we have had trials, struggles, and learning lessons along the way. We have implemented a tremendous amount of change and innovation in our school since I last stood before you almost exactly 1 year ago today, appealing for the approval of our restarts. And I cannot even tell you that Cooper Academy has the most phenomenal staff. Our staff is creative, loving, talented, dedicated, passionate, and if it wasn't for the great people behind me, none of these changes could have occurred at Cooper Academy. But our passionate educators embody the growth mindset. They're not afraid to try something new. They're not afraid to challenge the status quo. And all of our staff either opted to stay at Cooper or came to Cooper knowing that we are embarking on uncharted territory and that it would not be easy. And why? Because our staff strongly believes in our vision. They know their why, and you can see everyone's why when you walk into the lobby of Cooper. All our whys are on the wall. We are a close-knit and supportive family, and we all know that our kids deserve and are worth our very best. And I look forward to more positive updates in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I would just like to say the passion of both of these principals that have presented today has got me excited about being a part of Johnston County Public Schools from the restart. I mean, you can see it that you guys live it every day, and I commend you and thank you very much for what you do for your staff and your students, because we can see it.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
You know, I just have to make a comment. I'm sorry. Integrated curriculum. I've thought about this since middle school was my bag, and we all talked about integrating, but we talked about it. You're doing it, and let me explain why that's so important. If you're out in the world, you don't stop and say, oh, I'm doing reading now, oh, I'm doing math now. You do life, and here again, you're preparing children for life. When you do a themed study, you integrate everything they need about that. So when they're really in the real world, they are getting an integrated and understood approach. I commend you, and as Todd said, both of you are living the dream, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I just want to make a comment too. Principal Flores, I met you for the first time. You were giving a talk when you were still principal at Clayton Middle, and you were talking about your mentoring program, and I was just wowed at what you were doing. And when I found out you were moving to Cooper Academy, I thought, what a perfect person for the job. And you have just far exceeded my expectations in what you've done. I've attended many things there. I love that school. I love what you're doing.
Can you hear me now? I would like to thank you also. I heard a great deal on what's going on at Cooper. I think that your selection of Cooper was outstanding. You've proven it already half of the year, and you've shown us that things can be done for the children of Cooper and not passed over. And I think that you love those children, I can tell, and your staff as well. So I commend you for what you're doing. You're making history. You are making history at Cooper, and I would like to encourage you to continue to do what you're doing, what you do best, and that is to be the principal of Cooper. Thank you.
Now that I can speak again. No, you needed to talk. I needed to get myself back together. But Mr. Johnston, you are doing great things too. And as Dr. Smith said, teaching people to embrace change is so important. For years, one of the things as a business professional that I've done is evaluate employees on their willingness to accept change, or whether they resist change, or whether they're motivated by change. And those who exceed our expectations are those who are motivated by change. And you both are motivated by change. You're teaching your staff to do the same thing and the students to do the same thing. And as Dr. Smith said, that will help them excel so much in life by being able to do that. You're both doing a remarkable job, and we thank you so much for what you're doing.
Dr. Price.
I would, before we get started, I'm still stuck on this universal breakfast thing. How many schools do we have doing that? I hope you've started something, ma'am. That's a great concept and a great idea.
It's going very well.
I like following Ms. Flores because I don't have to pull the mic down. So,
Well, I saw you pull it down a little bit.
yeah, just a little bit. So thank you. Thank you to Mr. Johnson. And
You
Ms.
probably need to
Flores.
check the battery though, because she was
Yeah.
ripping it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I don't have as much animation and passion, I think, as the two before me, so I really appreciate
Don't believe that. That's not true. He does.
So, all right, exhibit item 6B3 is an update to our beginning teacher support program. It's an action item that requires a board vote based on several changes to the beginning teacher support program staff, as well as the growing needs of schools, mentors, and beginning teachers. The beginning teacher support program plan has been revised to better serve our customers. So I'm going to invite Dr. Todd Holmes, Executive Director of Beginning Teacher Support, to come up and present a few of the proposed changes to our plan. Mr. Holmes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to share just a few of the highlights of the changes to the Johnston County Public Schools Beginning Teacher Support Program. The Department of Public Instruction asks that whenever there are significant changes to the plan that the local school board approve those changes, and then we resubmit the plan. So I just am touching on the highlights of the changes to the plan. I have the clicker. So first, we have changes to the staff. You'll see myself as the executive director, Ms. Lebo as our director, and then Tanine Frazier as our office support. The three of us are new to the program this year, but I have worked with the Beginning Teacher Program several years ago, and Ms. Lebo has been a long-time administrator in the school system. So we feel like we have a very good handle on the needs of our customers and needs of our principals and beginning teachers. New challenges. Currently, Johnston County Public Schools has about 375 first, second, and third year teachers. By the end of the school year, that's probably going to be closer to 400 first, second, or third year teachers. 1/3 of all of our new teachers are lateral entry, which is a big shift. If you've been with the school system for a while, you'll know that is a significant shift from even a few years ago. Of our 120 first-year teachers, about 42% of that number is lateral entry. And from my conversation with Mr. Vetrano and Denise Bird and hiring directors, that number itself, since before the break, has probably gone up to about 45 or 46% based on new hires for the spring semester. So with the high number of lateral entry teachers, that means there are more new teachers entering our school system who've not had any type of education program experience, or what we call a pre-service, or you may know it as a student-teacher experience. So that presents some unique challenges for us. Lateral entry teachers, just real quick, these are teachers that have a 4-year degree but not in the field of education. They're eligible to be hired, but they must complete testing and coursework requirements within a specific amount of time. That's usually a 3-year period of time. Most of our lateral entry teachers have to take 6 courses. Testing and coursework is in addition to their other regularly assigned teaching duties and professional development duties. So we have these folks that have never been in a classroom, showing up, ready to teach, doing all the stuff a teacher does, plus doing the things that they need to do to get their teaching license in a very compact amount of time. Completing the licensure requirements can be expensive and very time-consuming for our new teachers. That's a challenge that we have to work with them and find that middle ground between them completing the requirements but not being overwhelming for them, and because we want them to stay in the field. Just as a quick update, Johnston County's Public Schools participates in the local alternative teacher preparation program. We're very excited about this program that Dr. Renfro, the school board, has given us permission to participate in. Currently, we have 12 Johnston County teachers who participate in a regional cohort with the Central Carolina RESA. We had 16 to start the school year, but then the LATP folks changed our meeting day from Tuesdays to Thursdays. So we had 4 folks who had to drop out due to coaching responsibilities. They understand now that we're going to try to keep our day on a Tuesday if all possible, so that our folks who participate in coaching activities don't get automatically tracked out of it. LATP allows our lateral entry teachers to complete their licensure requirements in 2 years. Classes meet twice a month at Clayton High School, so thank you, Mr. Jones, for working with us to get that set up. It's a very unique position. We actually have teachers from other LEAs who meet at Clayton High School because it's more convenient than the site that their LEA set up. So that, Johnston County is helping out our other school systems just, with the meeting location. There's, the meeting times are very reasonable, twice a month. They have an initial meeting at the beginning of the school year. There's a one-day conference in the spring semester, and then there's a 3-week summer institute. About half of that summer institute will be face-to-face with an instructor, and then the other half will be like a satellite type instruction. Think kind of like distant ed, where the instructor and the teacher will meet in person, or they may meet online, but it's not just 3 straight weeks of classes. The biggest benefit for our lateral entry participants in the LATP program is not only the additional support that they receive. So in addition to their mentor, they have their instructor through the LATP program. They have an instructional coach assigned at the central level, and they also work with me in my office. But the cost of participating in this program is drastically reduced. When you look at how much one single class costs these days, and most of our lateral entry folks take 6 classes, the cost of the entire LATP program is less than the cost of one class for the participant. And the school system does have a contribution into that, but for our first-year teachers, it's $1,000, which is extremely reasonable given the cost of graduate school classes these days. Lastly, I just want to mention real quick about our personalized learning opportunities. This is a little bit different as well. So we have sessions offered to our beginning teachers once in the fall, once in the spring semester. We do not just say, well, these are the classes that are offered, sign up for one. We survey our beginning teachers. We survey the assistant principals, the mentor coordinators, and say, based on what you see the needs of your teachers are, what type of sessions would you recommend we host in this semester? So there may be an inclusion class with an EC teacher and the regular ed teacher. There may be M-class instruction. There may be personalized learning instruction. And we involve our academic innovation staff and provide these sessions after school. But it is personalized learning. The beginning teachers get to select, hey, this is what's going to benefit me, instead of saying, Todd, you're going to go to this session, and Dr. Renfro, you're going to go to this session. We give some choice, that we feel like is better beneficial to meet their needs. Second and third year teachers are allowed to participate, and we have some BT1s who sign up for more than one session if it's applicable to them. That's been very successful in the fall, and we'll continue to have those sessions take place in the spring semester. We're actually in the process of developing the course catalog and getting some survey information back as well. In a nutshell, those are the large, significant changes to our beginning teacher support program. You guys have received a copy of the program as well, but those are the big changes that we made changes to the plan so that DPI can see those changes. And that is it.
This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion, then we'll open it for questions that you might have for Mr. Holmes and Dr. Price. So entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnston. Second by Teresa Grant. Any questions of these two? If not, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Exhibit item 6B4 is an update on the Teaching and Learning Coach Initiative. This is an information item. The teaching and learning coaches are in each building and are vital stakeholders in moving towards JOCO 2020. They serve their schools 4 days a week and come together for a PLC each Thursday. Great feedback continues to be given by coaches, teachers, and administration in TLCs moving their staff forward. I'd like to invite up Hannah Smith. She's the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning Coaches to highlight the progress of this position, and also I think she has a couple of folks who are going to give their testimony to what this position has meant to their building. What I'd like to say is a public thank you to this board for trusting a reset and a restructuring of an organization that allowed for this to happen. Thank you for the forward vision that you have, because this has made a huge impact in what we do and how we deliver professional development in our district. So, Hannah, if you'll come up and present out the big ticket items so that everyone listening to us today can see what's going on.
Good afternoon. I'm excited to be before you this afternoon to share and just showcase some of the great things happening with our TLC program. As Dr. Price said, I'm Hannah Smith. I'm the Executive Director of TLCs, and we are in the midst of transitioning Ashley Gibson to be a Director of TLCs to help grow our program. We began the year by really building a shared understanding of what coaching is. And coaching is just mediating the thinking with the intention of taking the coachee from where they are to where they want to go. So when you think of like a stage coach, that's been a big shift, and just to create this self-directedness in our teachers as learners themselves. The TLCs create a vision and mission, which is up next. So it's just that they're building relationships with teachers by encouraging and supporting an innovative mindset, ensuring that learning is relevant for all students. Their mission is just being change agents in their buildings, building relationships, not just with teachers, but creating a fostering environment for teachers to build relationships among themselves, with students, and student to student. You will see next the vision, their logo that they created. So you've got our tenets, the relevance, innovation, and relationships, and just that they're coaching, collaborating, cultivating, and celebrating. We tweet a lot, this group of 43 folks, and so if you ever want to follow us on Twitter, feel free. Our hashtag is JocoTLCs, and so they're just showcasing their work in the buildings all the time. We come together weekly on Thursdays for PLCs. And at this time, we've kind of focused on three big things. One is coaching skills. So a few of these folks were coaches in their buildings previously, but a lot of these folks were teacher leaders. And so it's taken time to build a skill set of how to coach, how to build the capacity of others. So when we think about coaching, we're developing their skill set and how to coach one-on-one, having these individual conversations, as well as how to coach a PLC, how to work with a group of people. We're building their capacity to analyze data within their school, and just giving them protocols of how to facilitate, again, in groups, large groups, small groups, and one-on-one. We also carve out time for collaboration. They have time within their grade span, so our elementary TLCs get together, middle school and high school. They also collaborate around similar WIGs, so what is their school focused on as their school improvement goals, and getting together to discuss, hey, what's going well at your school, what ideas do you have? And then just some similar needs, getting together, again, just that time to share what they see that's working in their building, to build some cross-school collaboration, cross-school PLCs. And lastly, we've been working on JOCO 2020. So the TLCs have played a huge role in the early release rollout that we have in our district this year. And then just building their content knowledge of personalized learning, PBL, and we've done a lot of work with varying walkthrough tools, so just calibrating the understanding. When we say good instructional practices, what does that look like? What I see in my head, is that the same thing that you see in your head? And just calibrating that understanding, that they can then have those similar conversations within their building. So what's being said in the field? So we have testimonies here today. Mr. Bennett Jones, the principal at Clayton High School, and Ashley Davis, who is a first grade teacher and school improvement chair at Selma Elementary.
Hello, hey, thank you. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk to you all about our TLC position at Selma and how it's impacted our school, especially our TLC, Mackenzie Yarborough. This year, our school improvement team has created a wildly important goal of closing foundational math and literacy gaps with the hope of reaching 80% proficiency by June. So with this SIT goal in mind, speaking on behalf of the staff and myself, I can confidently say that our TLC has truly encompassed each aspect of her title, teaching and learning coach. Mackenzie works diligently to teach our staff the importance of foundational skills. She has enabled us to learn the importance of foundational skills through looking at vertical alignment of standards, and she has coached us on how to close gaps for each individual student. With the vision of JOCO 2020 in mind, our TLC has set up bi-weekly meetings with each teacher one-on-one. And in those meetings, we review current student data, and to make sure our students are receiving the personalized instruction they need, we have conversations centered around that. And the trainings that have been provided for TLCs has been a basis for conversations during these meetings. So as a teacher, I can say that those times that you have on Thursdays are greatly appreciated, and we feel the need and the purpose of those meetings when we meet with our TLC. Mackenzie has grouped our students based on their skill gaps, which enables them to receive the instruction necessary for their individual needs. And this has allowed our teachers to uniquely personalize database instruction and to receive the coaching and assistance needed to ensure that those gaps will be closed. Not only does she help make decisions that will best benefit students, she also shows care and compassion when listening to the teacher's perspective while also challenging us to grow in our professional development. The TLC program has been instrumental in allowing teachers to feel supported as we conquer this wildly important goal, and I look forward to all the innovative strategies that are to come for this initiative.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, distinguished board members, Dr. Renfro. I'm glad to be here, and I will be brief, not Mr. Johnston brief, but brief. And just say the TLCs are a tremendous asset to us as principals in the school building. We have a phenomenal TLC at Clayton High School, Ms. Danielle Summers, who has been an innovative leader in our school in driving instructional pedagogies. She has been able to get into classrooms, and a lot of times at the high school setting, or even just in any school setting, it's hard for administrators to get into every classroom in so many different classrooms and really give feedback to teachers in terms of instructional strategies, and even more so have the resources available firsthand to help those teachers. And so she, just coming from the classroom, has a wealth of knowledge of resources that are easy for her to explain to other teachers. She has led professional development opportunities, and she's really just been a tremendous asset to really be that go-between between administrators and teachers and be a source of support for teachers. So we've had her go in and do peer observations for beginning teachers and really just give some coaching opportunities for as many beginning and lateral entry teachers who are just getting started, but also for veteran educators to give new ideas and new thought processes of challenging, why did you do that way, and facilitate conversations that really help to drive innovative practices and personalized learning. So, and I'm just going to give you this last piece and say this. This vision helped to save teachers to stay in our district, because I can tell you she was one that would have had the opportunity to go to a neighboring county and go and get more money. But then this opportunity came up, and she was able to further her professional development while at the same time providing a tremendous resource to our school. And we were able to keep her, despite her travel every day back from Wake County into Johnston County. She makes that drive happily because she knows she's doing a tremendous service to our entire school, our students, and our teachers. And so that's just one example of how giving opportunities for teachers to step outside of the classroom and be involved as leaders has helped to benefit students and instruction at Clayton High School and also across the district. So thank you for your forward thinking and your support of some new innovative ideas of how we can support teachers in the classroom. Thank you. That's
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you both for your testimony, and I would also like to thank you for just taking the risk to have these positions. I've been in the coaching world for a few years now, and it's wonderful to come back home to Johnston County and lead this, and it's just a great opportunity. These coaching infrastructures is what's going to skyrocket JOCO 2020. And I would be amiss to say that Thursdays, our PLCs and our work with coaches is all because of academic innovation, the stakeholders across the entire department. It is a collaborative team effort, and so everybody just comes together to develop these coaches into what we need in our building. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. May. Dr. Price.
Exhibit item 6B5 is an announcement regarding the North Carolina State and Wallace partnership to support principal preparation. This is an information item. I'd like to invite Dr. Timothy Drake from North Carolina State University to come up to give us some comments.
Dr. Drake, welcome to Johnston County.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate your patience and waiting your turn, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Lady Vice Chair, school board members, Dr. Renfro. It's really my privilege to come before you this afternoon to acknowledge Johnston County Public Schools for your commitment to ensuring that every school has a great and excellent principal, just like the principals we've heard from, Principal Johnson, Flores, and Jones. We know all great organizations need great leaders in order to succeed, and schools are certainly no exception to that. Simply put, great schools have great leaders. Research tells us that among all school factors, principals are second only to teachers in their effect on student impacts and growth. And that's because principals are multipliers of great teaching. They attract and retain the best teachers. We know, in fact, that a good principal is the #1 reason why effective teachers stay in our highest need schools. So the effectiveness of principals is really vital to the effectiveness of Johnson County Public Schools, especially those schools serving our children that have the greatest needs and the fewest advantages in life. I am here this afternoon to recognize Johnson County Public Schools for your targeted focus on preparing and supporting school leaders through a strategic partnership with NC State University and the Wallace Foundation. At NC State, we are recognized for excellence in preparing principals. Out of roughly 700 programs that prepare principals nationally, NC State is one of only 5 programs that's been designated as exemplary by a national organization. We specialize in training leaders who can serve as turnaround specialists in hard-to-staff schools. Our graduates hit the ground running and bring new solutions to improving schools. And in fact, next Saturday, we will be selecting Johnson County's next cohort of future school leaders, and that cohort will begin training this summer. So we're very excited for that. And we will be doing that in partnership with district leaders, school principals, assistant principals, and teachers from Johnson County. The Wallace Foundation is focused on strengthening university district partnerships in order to provide excellent principal preparation and build leadership pipelines for school districts. The Wallace Foundation, in recognition of your partnership with NC State University, commends the Johnson County Public School District and School Board for taking a proactive role in securing robust leadership pipelines for Johnson County Public Schools. Through the leadership of Superintendent Renfro, Johnson County Public Schools, as a partner in NC State's Wallace Foundation Principal Preparation Initiative, we know that you're clearly demonstrating a strong commitment to excellence. And on behalf of our partnership, I present this certificate of recognition for your commitment to excellence in school leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Dr. Drake. Thanks, Dr. Price. I've been told that I need to have a 5-minute break, and board members, 5-minute break. Thank you.
I love you, man. It's good stuff. Hey, there ain't enough time to share all the good stuff, man. Hey, on 2 wheels. I'm doing well. Good, good. I know it. What's that? Glad to have you back in the plate. Yeah, it sounds like, I don't know if it was any warmer here than what you did. It was cold. Uh-oh. I know y'all got a little bit of speed. They doing good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You're doing a good job. Thank you, sir. You got a joy? Yes, sir. I grew up in Wilson. I grew up in Wilson. I do. He is. No, it's Thomas and Ferris. Yes, you did. His son Charles and I are the same age.
Okay. Well, I know Charles was. Gonna go through all this, come back there, so, we're here, chief of staff. I was right there, so we got a couple of my, hey, you doing? 35, 40 minutes on paper. That's on paper.
How you doing? Good to see you. How you doing? Everything good?
Anything he gets down to Johnston
How you doing? How you doing? Good to see you, Tom. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Good to see you. What's up? Right around the corner from him, too. I said, "Man, let me tell you something." That's all right. I'll pay for it. I did it. He don't understand. He doesn't understand. I said, man, I said, and Robbie, it messed up Robbie more so than anybody else. Robbie figured he said, man, you know what, let's take care of it. You know what I'm saying? I said, yeah, you shouldn't even mess with you that morning. You shouldn't have said, no, I know what you were saying. And he said, he left you work because his dad gonna say, I mean, I think he said, yeah, it's pretty fresh. They said, well, the chief told me I had to write it by that pool. I was like, man, I should have called. I should have called. That's right. All right, well, let me know when I got about that circle now. So I'll keep coming. I got you. Good afternoon, sir. Yes, sir. That helped. It was very, very good. They want to keep that thing going. They want to be regular. Good, very good.
I'm great.
so it feels better today. Everything's good. I enjoy it every time. Thank you.
How you doing, sir? Good to see you. Great. Hey, Roger. Mr. Johnston, good, sir. How you doing?
Getting older.
I know. Yes.
We will reconvene the meeting. Welcome to your Board of Education meeting. It's January 9th, 2018. Happy New Year. I think we're having a heat wave now, so it's good to see people coming in short sleeve shirts and those type things. But this is your board meeting. Recognition is very important to us, so if you have a family member that's coming up, please come behind the board members to take your pictures or video. This boardroom is your boardroom, so you're not going to bother us mingling around anywhere you want to take the best picture. But welcome.
Thank you. Members of the board, Chairman Wooten, Lady Vice Chair Johnson, and our Superintendent, Dr. Renfro, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our shining stars. And all 36,000 of our students are shining stars, but we always like to bring to you some who just kind of rise to the top. And so we want to start this afternoon with our fall sports, because we have one student who's being recognized for character ed who's not here yet. So we want to give that student a chance to come in. But I'll introduce Brent Walston, our Director of Athletics, to introduce the presentation of our all-state performers in fall sports. I will read you those names and then I will hand the podium to Brent. Nina Bahunska from North Johnston High School is a junior on her conference championship team who has been named to the 2A All-State Girls Tennis Team by the North Carolina Tennis Coaches Association. Her coach is David Anderson. Nina is the first North Johnston tennis player to attain this recognition. And then we have Hunter Lee from Cleveland High School, who is a junior on his conference championship team, who has been named to the 3A All-State Boys Soccer team selected by the North Carolina Soccer Coaches Association. His coach is Michael Pritchard. Hunter is the first boys soccer player from Cleveland High School to attain this recognition. And then we have Adolfo Rosales from North Johnston High School, who is a senior on his conference championship team, named to the 2A All-State Boys Soccer team by the North Carolina Soccer Coaches Association. His coach is Jody Edwards. Mr. Brent, if you will come to the podium and tell us a bit more about these fabulous young people.
As Ms. Roberts said, thank you very much for having us. Nina is a junior at North Johnston and is also a foreign exchange student from Slovakia who is at North Johnston High School. Nina, if you will come forward. And as Ms. Roberts said, Nina is the first North Johnston tennis player to attain the recognition of girls tennis All-State to the All-State tennis team, and she represented North Johnston at the 2A All-State Championship tournament. So Nina, if you will walk around to the, okay, start on this side. Okay. Thank you, Nina. And Hunter and Adolfo, Hunter Lee and Adolfo, as Ms. Roberts said, Hunter is from Cleveland and is our 3A All-State boys soccer player. Hunter and Adolfo will be recognized in addition at the All-State soccer ceremony in January, where they will receive their awards. Hunter? Congratulations. And Adolfo Rosales. Congratulations, Adolfo. Yes, sir.
3A and USA Today first team. Okay. Yes, sir. Just want you to.
Brent, if you'll stay with us, because we'll move on to our Shrine Bowl, our presentation of Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas participant. And we want to recognize Devin Carter, who is a senior football and basketball player at Clayton High School, who participated in the December 16th, 2017 Shrine Bowl in Spartanburg, South Carolina, the home of my birth. Devin caught a touchdown pass for the North Carolina team in the game. He played wide receiver for the conference champion Comet football team this past fall and will play football at North Carolina State University next year. His head coach is Hunter Jinks. Brent?
Devin, come forward. Congratulations. And Devin caught the touchdown pass, and the team won the game as well, the North Carolina team. Congratulations, Devin.
If all of our students will remain, we'll take a picture of all of them with the board. Do you have something different for Grace? Okay. All right, thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Ms. Roberts, if I could add.
Yes.
Devin was just named to the North USA Today first team All-State by USA Today.
Congratulations. And again, if our students will stay, we'd like to get a picture of all of you at the end of this recognition. Our next recognition is a presentation of our top female golfer participating in the Tar Heel Cup. Grace Olmstead, a senior at West Johnston High School, has been selected to participate in the annual Tar Heel Cup as one of the top female golfers in Eastern North Carolina. As an East team member, she will compete against the West team in May at the Kramer Mountain Country Club in Kramerton, North Carolina. Her coach is Anthony Duca. Grace was the 3A East Regional Women's Golf Champion, played here in Johnston County at Reedy Creek Golf Club. She represented West Johnston at the 3A Women's Golf State Championship Tournament at Foxfire Village, placing 10th in the state. She plans to play golf at Mount Olive, at the University of Mount Olive next year. Brent? Okay, and if our students can join our board right behind, is that okay, Dr. Renfro? Okay. Okay, if you'll come in front and just stand in the we want to make sure we see her.
Hey.
All right, can we see? If you can't see me, I can't see you. Okay. Fall in with our superstars. Nice big smiles on the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Paparazzi. Get used to that. Yes, ma'am. I will give them to you. Yes, ma'am. I'll ask my sound room if I've placed the podium back in the right place. And we are still waiting on one character ed student, so we'll move to the left. So we'll move forward with our Employee of the Month recognition, and I'd like to ask Mr. Brian Vetrano to do the honors.
Welcome again, Mr. Vetrano.
Always glad to stand before you. Going to give Ms. Roberts just a moment to invite our Employees of the Month and their guests to come in. Ms. Register, you can just come on up here and join me. Good to see you again.
You too.
Now, you have some guests with you, correct? Okay. I'm going to wait till they get in here.
They're in.
Oh, are they all in here?
I only have 2.
Okay. All right. Always my privilege to stand before you and recognize our Employees of the Month. Ms. Register is next to me. Ms. Charlene Register is our classified employee for the month. She serves as an office support for the school psychologist at the Glenn Building, and she was nominated by several school psychologists. In fact, that's why I asked how many were coming in, because typically, board members, I receive 1 or 2 statements, nomination statements from individuals, and I think every school psychologist nominated you. So when I was trying to highlight key things I wanted to share to the board based on the nominations, I had a book in front of me. And so what I've done, so that I don't leave one of these psychologists out, I think I tried to highlight one line out of every nomination that I'll share with the board. So it may not flow very well, but I didn't want to miss any of the psychologists for all the wonderful things that they had to say about you. So I'll start by sharing that they say Ms. Charlene keeps our department of 20 school psychologists running. She does the job of 10 people, logging and filing all of the incoming referrals from every school location. She is a constant supporter of our children. She is always pleasant when I call to ask for her help, and she consistently provides a quick turnaround. She's the hardest worker, never complains, and definitely deserves recognition. Charlene is an outstanding person who brings a high degree of excellence, commitment, and innovation to her job. Charlene may be behind the scenes, but she is vital to our team. She repeatedly says, "I love my job and working with all of you." Her job consists of a never-ending pile of paperwork. Is that true?
Yes.
For every dent she makes, it is immediately replaced again when she receives that day's mail. This psychologist says, "I could not imagine how difficult my job would be without Charlene being there to support me and the other psychologists." Ms. Register, we certainly appreciate what you do. Congratulations for being our Classified Employee of the Month.
Thank you.
And you can walk around and see for them. And not done yet. We also have a certificate for you, a gift card, and a keychain.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Epps, if you'll join me. Ms. Laurie Epps is our Certified Employee of the Month. Ms. Epps serves as a first grade teacher at Princeton Elementary. She was nominated as Employee of the Month by Jan Bullock, another first grade teacher at the school. Ms. Bullock shared that she has worked with you for over 20 years. She is someone that I have learned from as I've transitioned from teacher assistant to teacher. She is a leader who is always willing to offer support and go the extra mile to welcome new team members and help them with anything they might need. Laurie Epps is a master teacher who is always willing to do whatever it takes to help our children and our school. In her time at Princeton Elementary, Ms. Epps has served on our school improvement team, our adult spelling bee team, several committees, and is currently serving as first grade chairperson. She has become an innovator in the classroom and is willing to take risks to help her students grow. She is kind, dependable, reliable, supportive of her team, and respected by our staff and community. Ms. Epps, thank you for all you do, and congratulations for being our Certified Employee of the Month. Same with you, Ms. Epps. Certificate, gift card, and keychain. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We now have our full complement of character ed students. And last but certainly not least, we'd like to introduce you to them. And we'll give them just a few moments for their parents and family members and friends to join us so they can share in this pride point.
Please feel free to come behind the Board of Education to take pictures of your children. And when they come up, feel free to roam wherever you need to take pictures. This is your boardroom. Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Lady Vice Chair, Dr. Renfro, members of the board. We recognize our students for sharing or expressing good character among their peers and always. And this month's character education trait is dependability, which means keeping your promises. And the students come to us from West Johnston High School, West Clayton Elementary, Westview Elementary, Wilson's Mills Elementary, Archer Lodge Middle, and Benson Elementary. We'll start with West Johnston High School, where the principal is Jennifer Swartz. Our 12th grade student is Hudson Roberts. And if you'll join me at the podium, Hudson. Okay. His parents, guardians are Melinda and Bert Roberts. We might be related. Really? Awesome. Let me tell you a little bit about Hudson. He is West Johnston High School's representative for dependability because he is reliable and has a great attitude. I can tell that already. He demonstrates an adaptable nature as a quick improviser in addressing the tasks in which he is involved. Hudson is one of the primary voices of West Johnston's daily announcements, in which he delivers the news of the day to students and staff. During our recent Christmas show, Hudson played in the pit as part of the orchestra, acted on stage as 3 different characters, and ran part of the technology for the production in each of the performances. Wow. He is self-motivated and dedicated to his teachers and classmates at school, often one of the last students to leave at the conclusion of an activity or meeting to make sure that everything is taken care of and that no one person is left to finish up alone. Hudson is a student who is called on frequently because of the dependability he displays among the school community. The hope is that Hudson's underclassmen peers are watching his example and will continue to demonstrate the positive behaviors he has modeled during his years at West Johnston. Ladies and gentlemen, Hudson Roberts. If you'll just shake your hands. Hudson, we'd like to just share a small token of our appreciation with you, a certificate of recognition, and we thought we'd go a bit high-tech and give you a 3-prong here to take with you. Hopefully that will be practical, but thank you so very much. We are very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
God bless you.
God bless you. Our next student comes to us from West Clayton Elementary, where the principal is Paige Barnes. That 5th grade student is Grace Finstermaker. And if Grace will join me at the podium. Her parents are Aaron and Michelle Finstermaker, and it is with great pleasure that West Clayton presents Grace Finstermaker for the character trait of dependability. She is a 5th grade student that not only exhibits dependability in the classroom, but throughout the whole school and outside of school. In class, Grace works hard and advocates for herself when she has questions or needs assistance. When things take place that she feels her teachers need to know about, she speaks up, she's honest, and she's trustworthy. When asked about her dependability, Grace's teachers shared that we always know that we can count on her to do what's right. Administrators have commented on how helpful Grace is when helping her younger brother get off the bus and get to class safely. Grace's teachers have also shared that she is involved in her church and has invited them to attend events. West Clayton is excited and honored to honor Grace for her dependability, and we are proud of the young lady she has become. Ladies and gentlemen, Grace Finstermaker. Grace, it seems you're the epitome of your name, such grace that you bring to us, and we are so very proud of you. Please accept that as a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations. Our next student comes to us from Westview Elementary, where the principal is Brayton Leonhardt. Our first grade student who will join me at the podium is Sydney Harp. Hi, Sydney. Her parents are Sarah and Jason Harp. So dependability is defined as the quality of being able to be counted on or relied upon. When you always do, let me step you out a little bit so the camera can see you. When you always do everything that you say you will and never make promises you cannot keep, this is an example of dependability. Based on the definition of dependability, the image you might find would be that of Sydney Harp. Sydney is a first grader at Westview Elementary School, and in the words of her teacher, Sydney follows our wise rules and encourages her peers to do as well. She will give quiet reminders or hand signals to others to ensure that our classroom runs smoothly. When given an assignment, she completes it with care using her best efforts. She is always willing and eager to help others with kindness and patience. They can always count on Sydney to do the right thing. Westview Elementary is proud to have Sydney Harp as the January Student of the Month, exemplifying the character trait of dependability. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sydney Harp. From Wilson's Mills Elementary, where the principal is Andrea Jones, our fifth grade student is Aranza Sanchez Salazar. Come join me, Aranza. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes.
Wonderful. Her parent is Maria Salazar. And when thinking about the character trait of dependability, the first student that comes to mind is Aranza Sanchez Salazar. She is the epitome of what dependability should look like. In the classroom, Aranza is never off task. In fact, she is one who tries to keep others on track. When a student is absent, you can count on Aranza to make sure they know what they missed. She will even let them use her notes to get caught back up. She consistently gives her best effort and encourages others to do the same. Aranza never needs redirection. She actually takes the initiative in order to accomplish her goals. She is someone who you can always rely on. Wilson's Mills Elementary is proud to honor Aranza for this character trait. Ladies and gentlemen, Aranza Salazar. Aranza, please accept this as a small token of our appreciation. We are so very proud of you. Congratulations. Our next student comes to us from Archer Lodge Middle, where the principal is Dr. Chris Kennedy, and our 8th grade student is Mackenzie Lockard.
Ms. Roberts.
And I'm sorry, it's not Chris Kennedy.
It's all good. Dr. Kennedy is at the elementary school where Ms. Hubbard used to be.
Yes, yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, and that's what happens when you don't commit things to memory and you read exactly what you see. Mackenzie Lockhart, an 8th grade student, has been a dedicated student ambassador for the past 2.5 years at Archer Lodge Middle School. Mackenzie is reliable and a true leader, specifically by teaching her fellow student ambassadors the various roles in the club. She teaches students the duties of flag patrol, models how to conduct tours for new students and rising sixth grade students. She even ensures that new students are familiar with the school, their teachers, and the location of their classes. Mackenzie goes above and beyond to welcome them to our school community. Additionally, she takes initiative in completing tasks such as when the school finished the annual Community Gators Give Back event in spring 2016. She donated the extra books to Powhatan Elementary School, which was the elementary school she previously attended. Mackenzie represents Archer Lodge Middle well in everything she does, where the principal is Melissa Hubbard. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce Mackenzie Lockhart. Mackenzie, we'd like to present you with this token of our appreciation, a certificate, as well as a little gift for you. Congratulations and best wishes. You're very welcome. Our final student comes to us from Benson Elementary, where the principal is Takisi Dunstan. Our 4th grade student is Keasia Hampton. Keasia, if you'll join me at the podium. Her parents are Kimberly Walden and Samuel Hampton. Can you see her? Let me tell you a little bit about Keasia. She is a 4th grade student at Benson Elementary School. She is a great person. She's dedicated to academically challenging herself. She has a great school attendance record. She says, yeah, that's me. She's a wonderful friend, and she's a thoughtful 4th grader to her peers. Throughout the day, you can see Keasia you can see her with her acts of consistent kindness in the halls and in the classroom, running after a student who had dropped a pencil and had no idea the pencil was missing, picking up trash from the floor, offering Benson Elementary School students and staff a crinkly-eyed smile at just the right time. However, it is because of her consistent acts of caring dependability that Keasia is being celebrated today. As staff welcome students and ready the tables for breakfast, wiping tables, placing chairs at the tables, Keasia is aware there is a need for help. Without even being asked, she can lend a hand. She immediately goes to help the staff remove the chairs and ready the tables. Keasia assists every day. No questions asked. Keasia and her acts of dependability are a gift to Benson Elementary School. Ladies and gentlemen, Keasia Hampton. Please accept this certificate as our way of saying we're so very proud of you. Best wishes and congratulations. You're welcome. This concludes our character ed recognitions.
Thank you. I'll give you time. You want to take pictures out in the lobby, or is that, you've already done that? If you would like to leave at this time, this is the time to do it. I'll give it a couple minutes. Have safe travels and appreciate you coming to your board meeting. Mr. Loris Gill.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting, I just want to compliment Dolores for always having such an organized policy committee meeting. She and Kimberly Brantley keep us on task and
Thank you.
doing the work.
Thank you very much. And I give all that thanks to Kimberly, who keeps me organized at all times. But I'll pass that along to her. Good afternoon, Chairman Wooten, Lady Vice Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Renfro. It's a pleasure to be with you today. And just would like to say that I'd like to thank the Facility Services and Transportation and School Nutrition departments for doing an excellent job during our recent snow event. They were out, all of them being willing to be called in to do whatever was necessary. You're all right. They were clearing decks, ramps, parking lots, busted pipes, heating issues, as well as one of our technology folks in our technology department took this as a time to not interrupt anyone else's technology and to begin to upgrade some server issues in our facility services department, and did that on their own and just sent me a message and said I'm on the way to do that, Mr. Terry Thompson. So we've had a lot of dedicated staff, so just want to take that minute. I have one item for approval today and then two information items. The first item is Board Exhibit 6C1, Policy 4170 about foreign exchange students. This policy has been amended recently in March of 2003. The policy has been amended to state that agencies wishing to operate in the schools be approved organizations listed in the Councils on Standards for International Travel. Further, the sponsoring exchange agencies must have regional representatives who live within 20 miles of the border of Johnston County. It's also been amended to state that failure to follow these regulations will result in an agency being removed from consideration. Our policy was also amended to give a firm deadline of August 1. We bring it back before you today to provide some greater clarity and focus in regards to the section about the application period will begin April 1, and the application deadline will be August 1. That was when we were going through our review process 30 days ago. So we bring it back before you today with that change, with April 1 as where you can begin this process, and again, August 1 as a deadline for the process. I bring it to you today for approval.
This is an action item, Policy 4170. Entertain a motion.
I just want to make a comment. Thank you so much for you and the committee going back and putting the start date. I think that'll help simplify some things. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Push to talk. I would like to thank Ms. Gill and Mr. Ray Stott for their hard work on and crafting this policy that is a workable policy. They did a lot of work on it, and I just like to thank them. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I'll pass that along to Mr. Stott, who was boots on the ground making sure that that happened. Thank you, Mr. Stott.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everyone, for that.
Ms. Gill, before you launch into your next item, I just want to let you know the thousands of folks that are out there watching the live streaming today have commented about how much more clear it is with the push-to-talk feature, and they've been sharing that information with the production crew back here. So I just want to applaud your efforts in working with us through this technological difficulty. But the folks that watch this overwhelmingly are saying that it is a much better production. So thank you all for working with us today.
And there are no lines across your face. I can see everybody, which I am so thankful.
Yeah, if we can get Butler to mash the button, we'll be in good shape.
So we appreciate them sharing the real-time feedback out of the production room and letting us know that the folks really are enjoying this.
Ms. Gill.
Yes, sir. Our next item is Board Exhibit 6C2, a technology update. Johnston County Public Schools continues to grow, and with this growth is opportunities to plan strategically for the health of our technology infrastructure and the attainment of devices to both assess and personalize learning for students. The Technology Subcommittee has updated the most recently technology plan, and it's linked in your presentation today. Further, Ms. Michelle Turnage, our technology officer, is here to provide an update on the major elements of technology in our district. In the next month, a technology problem-solving committee has been identified to include principals and central administrators in exploring ways to manage the needs of our growing district. I'd like to call up Ms. Michelle Turnage, who is going to give you a presentation about overall where we are with our technology in the district.
Welcome, Ms. Turnage.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to share technology with y'all today. This is we've got a 2016-2017 technology plan, and with the massive changes we've made over the last 2 years, we've updated the technology plan minus one section of the committee. So I'm going to give a brief rundown. I talk fast, so tell me to slow down, and feel free to ask any questions along the way. All right, in recent years, Technology Services implemented several network and infrastructure projects that have significantly improved our network and services to meet the demands of the skyrocketing use of Chromebooks and other mobile devices, as well as the exponential growth of data-rich content in our classroom. A lot of this data-rich content is coming in from JOCO 2020. You know, our classrooms are changing. One important thing we've seen is that we have tripled our bandwidth as an internet usage since 2013. And that is massive. Okay, so what does it take to support over 40,000 technology and internet users, students and staff? It takes a scalable infrastructure. The data center, our data center boasts 75 physical servers, 204 virtual servers. 2015, 2016, we completed a substantial scalable hardware upgrades. And then thanks to Hurricane Matthew, we had to rebuild and re-engineer the entire data center. So we took advantage of it and we literally gutted it and built it back. So hopefully we have a little bit more scalable building with more room for growth and service for the students and staff. Network, again, I think it merits saying again, we have tripled our bandwidth usage. We have tripled our internet use since 2013. Our bandwidth is scalable. There's some companies you contract with, you're given an X amount and allowance, and when you hit that, it stops. With MCNC, which is from the state, it's burstable. You know, if testing blows everything up, I mean, our internet's going to go up and it's going to continue to work. We have over 8,000 miles of fiber across the county. This was probably pulled, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, Dan? We had brand new fiber pulled across the county. Right now, our guys maintain over 550 switches and 2,800 access points across the district. Data backup, we have a data backup system. It provides full backups. It's daily and it's for restoration. If we have a disaster, what do we do? Or I guess it's if we have another disaster. We did build a disaster recovery and business continuity center. This was something we learned from because the data center did flood during Hurricane Matthew. I don't know if all y'all were here during that time. So lessons learned. In 2017, Clayton High School did share space for us, so we have a little baby data center there to keep business services up. In the event that our data center flooded again, payroll could be done, transportation can continue. It can't run the entire district, but business continuity is the critical element at that time. Let's see. I think that's it. Sorry. Okay. End user devices and equity. How do you address that across 45 schools? Equity is always a conversation, and end user devices. Here's a snapshot of where we are today. PCs and laptops, we have about 14,000. Chromebooks, we're over 30 at this point. iPads, we have 4,000 across the district. Nooks, about 800. And Zero clients, that's virtual desktops. We have about 800 of those that aren't quite rolled out yet. Zero clients save us from purchasing, $2,400 PCs to run programs like Adobe and AutoCAD. So with the district this large, it is imperative to make informed decisions on technology and to maintain equity. In 2013, we created a technology profile, and it's updated yearly, usually in August. The main goal for that is to provide principals a snapshot of the technology in their building, and then compare it to their needs, the refresh, the age of devices, and their enrollment. With online testing, enrollment comparison to your number of devices is critical to get testing done at this point with online testing. Sorry. What you see in front of you, I know it's small, that's the sample technology profile that principals are given, and it's the tech contact, the media folks. It's shared with pretty much whoever wants it, but we email it out to those three key people. It does include, again, enrollment data, age and count of your devices, the number of your devices for discard, total number of devices available for online testing, student per device ratios, gives them notice about Chromebook end of life. Chromebooks are now, they have a life of about 6.5 years, so we just kind of tell them what's coming up so they can plan ahead. And then also, we're targeting a 5-year refresh rate, and we have not been able to attain that. So the committee that Dr. Gill mentioned, we're going to again discuss refresh and how we can best meet that for our district and which way we want to go with that. So that's a very valuable tool, and I get a lot of calls about it just for some explanations or clarification of numbers. But it's a really good snapshot of what is in every single school. And then there's also a summary for the district, where I usually share that information when people are asking for stats. And there's a link to a sample profile there. What are our biggest challenges with technology? The biggest two are end-user device refresh and then sustained network services. We preach this, and a lot of people hear it a lot. Our network is as good as our oldest, slowest device. In education, we get devices, and we want to hold them for 20 years. And they're killing you. And with online testing, you have to use these sleek little devices to test on, so these clunky dinosaur desktops slow everything down. They get in the way, and they literally stop traffic. So we continue to preach that. Education, you have to keep it till it blows up. But that really is not good for your network, and it's really not good for testing and online testing, especially with the numbers. You think probably 36,000 or maybe 15,000 or more kids are online testing at a time, Okay, so go back to those numbers. If we're talking about refresh and where we are today, we said we had about 14,000 PCs and laptops. 65 or 6,700 of those are 2012 and older devices. It's 2018, so they're 6 years old already. Okay, and of those, 1,500 of those are teacher PCs and laptops that are 2012 or older. And, we have teachers using some pretty old devices. Refreshes, and I live and breathe with refresh. They hear about it all the time from me. It's critical. And now we're even meeting a more critical time with all this new content that has higher specs and higher demands to get it to work. Chromebooks, we have 30,000 Chromebooks, maybe even 31 by this point, but we do have about 4,800 that are reaching into life. They've been good. When we first bought them, the life expectancy was 5 years, and they've extended that, so we're tickled pink to have a 6.5-year lifespan on those. And those were probably the first ones we bought in 2012, and they've done it. They've served its purpose. They've done very well. Okay, so if you talk about replacing PCs versus laptops, if we do a 5-year refresh or 20% refresh, you're talking about $2 million a year allocated to do that. If you look at Chromebooks, that would be $1 million. That's a 6-year refresh on Chromebooks. And with that, you think about it, you'd have a Chromebook in every student's hand across the district. We're almost there now. We have 30,000. We're so close. It's just how they're utilized and how they're set up in classrooms and stuff. Okay, so for some considerations for technology, how are the 2,300 classroom environments changing? How have they changed from last year? How have they changed from 3 years ago? JOCO 2020 is driving that. How are the end user needs changing? It's not like it was even 2 or 3 years ago. Laptops don't cut it. You can't take 10 minutes for a laptop to boot up You know, when teachers get started, they want their devices on and rolling, and you know, Chromebook has an 8-second boot up. You know, you can't take a quarter of the class for a device to boot up. And then also, what end user and classroom technology is sustainable? You know, we get into all these. We get into all these software programs and licensing and fees. You know, it's got to be sustainable and economical. So I think there's got to be some serious decisions on what we can continue with. And I know y'all live and breathe that every day. There's always things, and whether or not you can contain it, or sustain it, and it's economical. Biggest challenges, again, sustain network services. We have been very fortunate since I've been with technology and working with Dan, actually probably since 2014. We have invested over $5 million in our infrastructure. And that is massive. And then you say, how do we do that? The state, 2 years in a row, the state offered to cover all out-of-pocket expenses. So at the risk of our technology staff, we did everything we could to take care and take advantage of these funds. So they have worked like dogs for the past few years, but you know, we've really utilized these funds, and the district is in a really good place. Other funding has been from bond, CTEs. There is some CTE funds included in this. PRC 15, that's just standard. I won't go over this whole list, but you know, we've built new schools, refreshed equipment, we've recabled a school, rebuilt the data center, flood recovery, opened some more schools, upgraded fiber. You know, we pulled new fiber across the district 3 or 4 years ago. We also beefed up the fiber between schools. And then we beefed up the fiber from the MDF to the IDF. And I know that sounds like hieroglyphics, but every school in the media center, they have a big little baby data center, and they talk to all the halls. So we beefed up the cabling to go between those so it can handle more devices, more testing, more Chromebooks. You got 30 Chromebooks per classroom. You got to have some infrastructure to handle that. Innovation Academy. I mean, the list is there. Okay, for spring, right now we only have about $500,000 planned. And again, some of that's from, I don't know if any of that's from E-rate, bond, PRC 15. I'm trying to let my folks breathe a little bit because it has been a heck of a year thanks to Matthew and everything else in the data center. We're doing a device equity purchase. We've changed the standards a little bit to try and help schools that don't have enough devices for testing, to try and help them and be sure everybody is on the same platform and has enough to meet testing. The only thing we're lacking in the DR Center is a secondary internet service. Broadplex is bringing in dark fiber. It's like 5 miles, and we're waiting on it. I'm hoping it'll be another 6 months. And what the dark fiber is, it's purely allocated, and it's pulled directly to that site, and no one else will be on it.
That doesn't have anything to do with the dark web, does it?
No.
Okay, good.
No. We are going to add Wi-Fi in all press boxes and Wi-Fi on the stadium so graduations can be streamed, and then the Innovation Academy Phase 2. So hopefully we'll have a quiet spring. That's not too aggressive. But what we do have planning, when E-rate recycles and we get more E-rate money, we have about less than $5 million, and that's very aggressive. But we're going to have to spend substantial funds to address equity and refresh. We all know, we're in a position where the funds are going to have to be spent there. Innovation Academy Phase 3, that should probably finish that site or the school. BDI wants to do an expansion. We hope to address some issues with heat in the MDFs and the IDFs. There may be a new school. And then beyond that, we'll start recabling schools. We have, at some point, all the schools in the district will have to be recabled. So we're just starting to chunk it out, depending on what E-rate funds are available. And then our last wish list is a Networks Operations Center, and that's purely for be proactive instead of reactive. All right. Again, our network is as good as our oldest, slowest device. You'll hear me preach that a lot. So that was fast, and I know I talked fast. Are there any questions? Nope.
I do.
Okay.
In all of your presentation about needs, I didn't see anything about personnel. Was that deliberate, or are you well staffed?
We always need staff, but I think everybody screams that. So, right now we're doing the best we can. I mean, we always need staff. We're lucky to get a CTE position, and we're getting them on board. But there's so many other needs with training and stuff like that. My guys are making it work. So.
Is there still a technology person in each school who is kind of the first line of defense, or are you it? Do they call you when they have a technological issue?
There is a CTA, and they're kind of first line of defense, and a lot of that depends on whether or not they're teaching full time. Some schools, give them some release time. That may not be the proper term. And there are probably 2 or 3 schools out there that have a full-time technology person to address those issues. But most of the time, if they're teaching a full load, our guys kind of step in and do all they can for them. Especially elementaries, they tend to be the most taxed out. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, most schools do not have a designated technology person. I go back to our days at North Johnston. Mike Syverson, who still serves in the same capacity, he would teach 2 classes of art, have his planning period for the art preparation, and then he had a 90-minute block that he could be a first-line defender for technology, and that's more typical than atypical.
Thank you. Thank y'all for your time.
Ms. Gill.
And again, the purpose of that presentation today is sometimes our principals and our stakeholders do not realize the behind-the-scenes work to make sure we have a healthy infrastructure. It's very easy to think, a computer's not running or we need to buy these 30 computers. It is a massive operation to keep all of these things going, and it's almost like she is speaking another language. And many times I stop and say, translate that for me. But I just wanted to kind of give us an overview of there has been crucial spending and that there is strategic planning in future spending in regards to technology infrastructure, as well as finally involving our principals consistently in making sure that our refresh and our discussions around that for testing and for JOCO 2020 purposes are attended to. As we move forward. So thank you for allowing us to bring that to you today. The final item that I have is Board Exhibit 6C3, Facility Services Construction Update. This is always exciting. The projects identified and funded through our local government commission are continuing with success as they provide upgrades to our schools. Today we'd like to focus on Cleveland Elementary that is receiving a new roof, and our Smithfield-Selma High School locker room and restroom facility, which is nearing completion. The construction video presented today will provide you some updates and progress in reference to these 2 projects.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year to you. In the spirit of newness, we're here today on the campus of Smithfield-Selma Senior High School in a new facility. The building that we are in today is not complete, but will be complete by the time spring sports begin. It is a combination of locker rooms and restrooms for our student athletes. This is just one example of the many projects that are going on throughout the Johnston County Public Schools. Here is a great example of another project.
Here at Cleveland Elementary, we are getting a new roof put on our building this year. We have had lots of leaks over the past couple years, and they have just really created some major safety issues for our staff and students and visitors, so we're very excited to be getting this new roof. We have had some sounds going on, obviously, from the new roof being installed, but it has been very minimal. They have done a great job in working with us on our school calendar and using early release days and the work days and even over Christmas break to do some of the louder work that they've been doing. The major change that we're going to have is we're not going to have the flat surfaces that we've had, so it'll be more of the, I guess you'd call it triangular surface instead. So that will definitely help with leaks. As far as I know, we are on target. It is a year-long process. We started in July, so we're hoping to meet that deadline in this upcoming July. We are very grateful to our Johnston County Schools Board of Education and also our County Commissioner for helping to get this project going.
2018 looks to be an exciting year for us all. Please know that we're committed to quality facilities, and here is a list of some of the building projects that are currently ongoing in the Johnston County Public Schools. You know, anytime we talk about building and projects, we want to take the time to thank our Board of Education and our county commissioners for their foresight in helping us be the best that we can be each and every day. Don't forget that hopefully in 2018 there will be a bond referendum coming to you in November so that we can continue along the path for growth and excellence in our facilities. Thank you all for all you do, and have a great year.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Gill. Mr. Vetrano.
Thank you much. Good to be before you again. Under human capital, we have 2 items for you this afternoon. The first is information, exhibit number 6D1. We felt it necessary to provide you with a recruitment and development update. Dr. Price earlier mentioned reset and how that process has really afforded our district the opportunity to really put into place some innovative practices that we believe are truly helping our school district. Part of the reset was human capital, and in the past we had individuals who, on top of many other responsibilities, were trying to designate a little bit of time here, a little bit of time there, focusing on recruitment and retention. And I'm very pleased that we now have individuals who, they certainly have other responsibilities, but the large portion of their time is spent on recruiting and retaining employees and helping to develop them and working with many other departments. So we have certainly renewed our focus on recruiting and retaining employees, and our goal is to create and maintain a high quality workforce that mirrors our students. And today, I'm going to invite Kathleen McLam, Executive Director of Recruitment and Development, and Dee Edmondson, Director of Recruitment and Diversity Development. They're going to share some highlights with you of our efforts to recruit and retain a quality workforce.
Welcome.
Good evening. How are you all doing? Thank you for the opportunity to come here today, and we're very excited about this subpart of the human capital team, and we just want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing. So this quote really resonates with us. The people you recruit today will define your company tomorrow, so recruit wisely. As part of the recruitment process, we want to quantify the qualified here in Johnston County Public Schools. So we came together as a team and we discussed some of the goals that we wanted to accomplish. We want to ensure that we recruit and increase the pool of highly qualified personnel, both classified and certified. We want to diversify our workforce so that it mirrors our student population. And we also want to retain and affirm our current employees. Part of that is just talking about a marketing plan. We have updated all of our promotional materials to include a focus on relationships, relevance, and innovation. We wanted to understand, why do people come to Johnston County Public Schools and why do they stay here? And out of that survey came 3 identifying factors. There's the family atmosphere, there's the geography of where we are. We're close to the beaches, we're close to the mountains, and we also have the supplements. When you look at some of the supplements of our surrounding counties, we are very competitive. We also wanted to know, what are our current and future needs? Continuously, we focus on math and science. We're always looking at exceptional children's teachers, and we also want to know who we need, and we want to ensure that we have a student population that mirrors our staff and vice versa. We want to reduce the amount of contracted exceptional children's professional. We have a lot of our therapists and our speech pathologists who are contract employees. A lot of times these employees are contacted while they're in college. They get in with a group and they begin their career, and then they sign a non-compete clause. So we want to make sure that we get into some of these graduates before they do these non-compete clauses, and we can seek these employees and also retain them. We're also looking to seek more partnerships with our student teachers and our specialists. We have looked at community colleges that have speech pathologists. We've looked at some of our universities and actually attended some of those. We also want to make sure that we're growing our own, our TAs to teachers. They are some of the best resources that we have. They have the strongest relationships with our students, so we want to make sure that we keep them here, and we also want to support them in their endeavors. And we want to continue the initiative of broadening your horizons. Last year, they brought in different universities to look at our teachers' assistants' transcripts to look and see what would they need to do in order to get a continuing education license. And so we want to make sure that we do that for them.
Diversity. Diversity is the art of thinking independently together. Rebranding recruitment. Seeking a diverse group of competent and compassionate educators focused on enriching each student's education. The tenets of JOCO 2020, innovative teachers, caring, compassionate, and competent educators, personalized learning, student and staff demographics. When it comes to student and staff demographics, we looked at the students, but we also looked at the staff, and it was the classified and certified. As you look at the information that's listed, you'll notice that where the outlier is our Hispanic population. The students are 24%, and the staff is 3.5%. So that's something that we definitely want to work on, but we want to continue working in all areas so that it mirrors our student population. Diversity strategies, career college recruitment, bilingual job fair. We've done one. We enjoyed it. We would like to do another one, and we did that one in Durham. In and out-of-state job fairs, those are picking up, and so we have a lot to do there. HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, relationship building visits. We've done a couple. We'd like to do more. Innovative techniques for recruitment, office hours, where we would actually have a time where they could contact and we could talk about them becoming a member of our school system. Participate program, 57 candidates from 9 countries, 35 are from Colombia. Extended 15 visas, the facts, 65 languages in our county. Increased diversity of our non-dual language schools. Johnston County Public Schools R&R branding. National diversity ads, we've worked on those. Aligning staff and student demographics. Principal PD, cultural awareness and diversity focus, and that is something that they're doing at the principals meetings, which has been very meaningful. Focus on relationships, relevance, and innovation.
So a part of the strategy, we also talked about development, and this was another quote that just kind of stood out to us. The successful organizations in America are the ones who recruit the people they have. We can't just be satisfied with people taking a job here. We need to continually recruit them to stay here. And part of that, we discussed continuing to recognize our exemplar employees. You saw 2 of them here today. One of them who had 11 nominations. That's not uncommon with some of our exemplar employees. We want to create more business partnerships and increase the employee discounts. We've added about 23 employee businesses since the start of the year. We want to acknowledge the new employees to the systems with cards of appreciation, and Ms. Edmondson shared that with you. We have sent a personalized card to every person that has been hired from July 1 on, and that's something that we're going to continue. We want them to know you could have chosen anywhere else to be, but we are grateful that you chose Johnston County Public Schools. That is for career as well as, certified and classified. And we're also sending thank you cards for major life events, death, disease, something like that. We want them to know that it is personal here. We don't take you for granted, and we want to continue for them to know that we do care and have that family atmosphere.
Student teacher support, we're working with that. I've had the opportunity to go out to schools where we have our student teachers and get a chance to meet them and give them some good news and just see what they're doing, which is something different that we've done from the past. Participate teacher support, classified and certified recognitions, PIN for services, for years of service anniversaries, possible radio ads promoting teachers, Ma'am and Glam event, promoting care, compassion, and health wellness. And I'll tell you, we've had one. It was wonderful. I participated myself, and I'm glad I did. And we would like to continue doing those particular things. When it comes to our recruitment and retention, we're excited about the opportunity to be able to bring wonderful educators to Johnston County Schools, and thank you for your support.
Anybody have any questions? Thanks for what you do.
The second item, Board Exhibit 6D2, is an action item. You have before you a resolution regarding K-3 class size reduction implementation. Pursuant to Session Law 2017-9, local school districts in 2018-19, next school year, are required to set class size averages in grades kindergarten through third grade that equal the state classroom teacher funded ratios, and will have to meet more restrictive individual class size maximums across those grade levels. In order for our school system to comply with this legislative mandate, we will need to hire an additional 100 teachers in grades kindergarten through third grade. Finding this number of additional licensed and qualified teachers, you heard earlier about the number of lateral entry teachers that we have from our beginning teachers. The district will need to increase the number of physical classrooms also at these grade levels, which would mean more mobile units. More classrooms may need to be converted. It may mean that, and we've discussed this before, that enhancement classes may need to be on a cart. If we would have, these are just options that the school district is considering and would need to consider if changes are not made. So the resolution that has been shared with you, in summary, is asking the General Assembly to slow the implementation of the kindergarten through third grade class size reductions and implement it through a multi-year phase that would allow the school districts, our school district and other school districts, to plan for these changes. Be glad to answer any questions.
I do have a question. When is the deadline for compliance with the state legislation?
Next school year.
Now, this resolution regarding the K through 3 class sizes and the handout that you've given us, you've said some interesting things in here. It said most likely leading to more classrooms taught by long-term substitutes and lateral entry teachers. One other concerning thing is it says we may need to also convert gyms into classrooms, and then we're going to displace a physical education teacher. Is that, I mean, that's correct in what I'm regurgitating, correct?
Correct. I think what we wanted to make sure this board understood is that legislative mandates are just that. We have no choice but to comply with those mandates. And so in order to do that, we must consider all options. We're not saying that we are definitely going to convert our gyms to classrooms, but all of those options are being considered as we begin to prepare for this mandate.
Okay. And with the deadline of compliance being a little time off, I realize that there needs to be some type of implementation. However, I would encourage everyone to table this because the terminology or the language may need to also incorporate or change a gym into a classroom. You know, I've got one of my best friends that teaches in Wake County. She shares a huge room with 3 teachers that have made up walls by bookcases. She can hear what's going on in the other 2 classrooms. That's not the direction we need to move in. I do understand what you're saying with state legislation, and we have no choice with a mandate, but Are there any other counties surrounding us in the area and the state that are resisting this?
I believe so.
I believe all of them are.
In fact, a similar resolution was adopted by the North Carolina School Boards Association.
It's my opinion we need to table it. We need to do a little bit more on it, go to our county commissioners. We need to do everything we can to prevent anything like this from happening. I mean, if it's more mobile units that we need in the budget, I mean, a classroom to some of our kids is the only safe place they got. And when you start throwing up a couple bookcases, this is your classroom, number one, it's not building a relationship, it's not relevant, and it's not innovative. And if we're going to stand for that, that's what we're going to do.
And I think that this resolution is addressing the concerns that you've mentioned. It's basically saying that we are not excited about these types of options that we would have to consider, and therefore we are asking the General Assembly to slowly implement these changes over a period of years to afford us the opportunity to make important decisions that would be beneficial for our school district.
It's my understanding time is of the essence. I mean, we need to get, if we wait a month, this may already have gone beyond the legislative process, and we need to get ahead of the curve. And I have not talked to a single district who has not joined the School Boards Association in adopting this resolution.
So this letter is addressing, it's just giving the options that districts would have to take to meet their mandate. And what we're requesting from them is these are options that we may have to take, but might not have to take.
Yes, sir.
But at the same time, the reason this resolution is being passed across a lot of the districts is to influence them to either fund the mandate, or these options are going to be part of the execution of districts to meet this mandate. So I feel like we got to make a stance, but it's not saying that we're going to turn a basketball court or any other wrestling room into a classroom, but that's an option that we would have to take if we don't have some type of funding, either from the state or from the county, to be able to get the space needed to educate these K-3 children.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman, and that's why in the resolution you'll see the words may quite often, because these are just options.
So just clarification again, Brian, is the resolution is basically the stance that we want them to slow it down. I agree with Mr. Johnston. I don't want to see a basketball court that's no way of teaching our kids or anything like that. But those options we would have to come as a board and vote on later. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the resolution. Is that correct? Because I agree. I don't want to vote on anything today that we're going to turn a PE room into a classroom.
Right, and I know resolutions are written uniquely, and Mr. Lawrence may have some insight on this. I allowed him to look at it and make any edits that he felt necessary before presenting it to you. But it's basically just a position that this board is taking to say that we are encouraging the General Assembly to carefully consider this mandate and take some steps that if this is the direction that you're going in, to at least take some steps to slowly implement this. As they did this past year, they did reduce the maximum number by one. That we had to hire some additional teachers, even just by reducing it by one. And so taking small steps each year to get to that target number that they have in mind would allow us to then make slow changes, little changes each year instead of many, many changes all at once.
And am I correct too, if the news is reporting correctly, that this is one of the main items that they're going to be talking about in the short session is about classroom sizes? Is that correct?
I would imagine they would be, given the attention in the media on this
It
matter?
depends on who you talk to. I think that members that populate the House are proactive and want to address it sooner than later because they see what's out there and that we need to get clarification now so we can start planning for next year. You know, we're already in the budget process, you know, trying to get ideas of numbers for next year. Those in the Senate seem to me, it's there. It's time for you to comply with it. We're not making any more changes to it. So I'll be spending the better part of the day in Raleigh tomorrow meeting with legislators, both from the House and Senate, on this particular topic, sharing with them what the impact is here in Johnston County. You know, between 90 and 100 additional teachers. Ms. Gill, remind me, how many additional mobile units would we need based on our current assessment?
5.
Sure. So, you know, just letting them see that if they don't do anything to alter the course of this between now and July 1st, that's what our reality is. And then as we navigate through the spring, that's when we have to make the decisions about if no relief is offered, you know, where do these additional 100 teachers come from? You know, is it going to impact larger classes in grades 4 through 12? Are we going to have to look at enhancements depending on whether they're funded separately or not and cut some enhancement positions, you know, elementary, middle, and high school? So all those things are things that we have to consider as we wait on the receiving end of what our legislators are going to do. You know, this past Friday, there were members from both sides of the aisle in Johnston County at Clayton High School, and they wanted to talk to principals and see what the impact would be, you know, from their eyes. They've heard what superintendents have had to say, but they want to hear from principals what their viewpoint was on this particular issue as well as others. So we're doing everything that we can do to let them hear, hey, if you don't do some kind of modification or change, this is the impact it's going to have in Johnston County.
Well, I'm like Mr. Johnston too. I'll be far from voting to turn a gym into a classroom, so that's not going to be an option. But to address the other stakeholders in reference to enhancements, you talked about enhancements on a cart. Explain that to.
Right.
I assume that's where they all have their information on the cart and they go from classroom to classroom. They don't have a specific classroom space. They have to rotate whatever's available to have their enhancement class, correct?
That is correct. And with especially the new schools that we have built over the last several years, the art classes and music classes are designed exactly for those purposes. And so there would have to be some work from facility services just to convert, even though the classroom space exists, it's not set up for a regular classroom. It's set up for an art classroom. It's set up for a music classroom. So converting them is not an easy thing to do. It would require time and money and resources.
But if I may, it is still much more cost effective than setting up a whole new mobile unit and paying rent on it. So we have to consider all options when we look at this school. So we're getting to the point where we need to begin to make those kinds of plans.
Right. But if I can, I think one of the questions was, if this board adopts this resolution, does that mean we're going to do every single thing listed? Absolutely not. We're just saying that these are things that this board is having to consider, the school district's having to consider in order to comply with this mandate. Correct.
If they keep it going the same.
Correct.
Well, thanks for clarifying that, because your average taxpayer needs to know what enhancements are on a card. So.
And the genesis of this originated with the School Board Association. They sent this out to all districts across the state and said, we'd like for you to support this as we lobby our legislators with the K-3 class size mandate. And we just bring this to you at their request. And what you elect to do with it, you know, this the School Boards Association, and you guys populate our school board.
Any other questions?
I just want to make one more comment. When the art on a cart teaches in a classroom, that means that the teacher who is planning that period has to gather up all her materials and go someplace else. It's just an untenable situation. Nobody argues with K-3 class size reduction. Nobody thinks that's a bad idea. It's a bad idea to not fund what you're requiring. Right. And that's the genesis of, as the superintendent said, that's the genesis of the problem is we're having to scramble to solve a problem that should not be a problem. And that's what the resolution is hopefully addressing, is that we slow this down in time to give us an opportunity to address what we can and to be met with additional funding.
Correct. And what you will sometimes hear is that the funding is already there. And that's true, but it's not true. So, for example, right now, we do not receive any funding for enhancement teachers. We have to utilize the funds that we receive from State 01 positions to help provide those enhancement positions, those about 200 enhancement positions that we have. So that's another question that we have is, will there be a separate line item for enhancements? We're hearing there might be, but we haven't seen anything as of yet.
And thank you, Mr. Vetrano, for presenting this. But, you know, in my line of work, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. So when I read this, it's already gone wrong if we're taking a step in this direction. I understand this is a worst-case scenario, but it is a scenario, and it is one that has the potential of coming to fruition. So that's why it concerns me. And I heard Ms. Gill say that we would need 45 mobile units to address these mandates. I know that this would take... yes, ma'am, I understand. And with that kind of information is what I would like. I want to know what it would take financially to address all the stuff that we have in this need that's been created by unfunded mandate. I get that. But this is just something I would like to have moving forward, because when we need these funds, the people we go to get these funds need to be ready to disseminate these funds, because the only thing at risk here is a child's education. So when we go to people and ask for this stuff, I would hope that they will have the compassion to step up and do the right thing.
What if they put the information of what it would cost for the 45 mobiles being an option in that resolution as well?
Well, I think the resolution can be as detailed as you want it to be. I think our purpose was just to say that it's going to require our school district to look at many, many options, such as some of the ones that we mentioned here. There may be other options, but regardless of what we put on paper, I think we all recognize and agree that in order to comply with this mandate, that we would be forced to do things as a district that we're not really comfortable with for our students.
I mean, there's a lot more things that we'd be uncomfortable with that's not on the sheet too. We can make a list twice as long as that of options that we would have to take if this does go through the way it's, you know, without being funded. So.
Correct.
So this is a resolution and action item. Is there any more questions?
One more request. I mean, I would like that information to start being compiled as far as manpower, facilities, any type of cost or expense that's going to come with this unfunded mandate. And I don't know, Dr. Renfro, if you've already started that. I'm sure you have. I hadn't seen it.
Excuse me. We put that in the budget last year when there was no sign that the legislators were going to relent and give us some relief. And so we can pull that from last spring's budget, and we can make it available to you later this week. Again, you know, the legislature says we're funding this. You know, where are you spending the money? That was one of the questions I offered to Mr. Vetrano. I said, all right, where are we spending this money that they say they're giving us? And, yeah, we spend it where it's supposed to be spent. Rick Horner, one of our senators, he affirmed that this past Friday. He says, well, Johnston County is one of the counties that's doing what they're supposed to do. But yes, sir, we'll get that information out to you in terms of what it would cost if we had to hire 100 additional teachers and if we had to put into place 45 more mobile units.
And that information was shared with the county commissioners last year, so this is not going to be a huge surprise to them if that happens. Fortunately, we were able to remove it from the budget, but it was shared with them at that time.
Any more questions? I entertain a motion.
I'm sorry. I had been so good about mashing the button. I move that we adopt the resolution with the changes requested by Mr. Johnston.
Second.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other items.
Ms. Gill, get the updates in terms of mobile units, and we want to get that to Mr. Vetrano in the next couple of days so that it can be reflected in the resolution that, if this continues on, we would need to petition our county commissioners for funding for 45 additional mobile units as well as the setup fee to go along with that. Because you can lease or purchase, but then it's another, correct me if I'm wrong, 18 to 20,000. How much is it to set them up?
It's anywhere from 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Technology that you have to put in them, and then the monthly rental fee in order to keep them there, and then the extra electrical fees just to be able to run electricity and custodial square footage cleaning of adding that in.
Mr. Vetrano, once you get the update from Ms. Gill, you share with the board what the updated resolution resembles, please.
And I encourage all taxpayer stakeholders that are listening to this meeting and the concerns of the K-3 legislation to identify all the information that we're collecting and call your representative in Raleigh and voice your opinion of the approval of unfunded mandates from Raleigh for the education of our children. Thank you. Ms. Crystal Roberts.
Mr. Wooten, members of the board, Dr. Renfro, we have a report to you in reference to Power School enrollment and registration, beginning with our 2018-19 kindergartners. As you know, registration, it can be very cumbersome and paper intensive. As an innovative school district, we like to use an online platform starting with our kindergartners. And I have with me this afternoon Mr. Dan Hicks, who's our Executive Director of Information Services, and Ray Stott, our Student Services Officer, to provide you with a PowerPoint outlining the steps that we'd like to take toward using this online registration portal for kindergarten registration. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Stott.
Good evening. Before I start that presentation, and I do appreciate the board members already mentioning in their opening statements Miss Jackie Stewart. She worked in student services. If you ever had opportunity to work with her, it took you about 30 seconds to realize how much compassion she had and how much she cared for students. Last time I had the opportunity to observe her was actually at Powhatan, and she was working with a little kid and you could just see the love. She was just loving all over that kid. So continue. Obviously, her family's going to miss her most, but it's a great loss for student services and all of Johnston County Public Schools. And I just wanted to say that again. Continue to keep her family in your thoughts and prayers, and especially her son, Ramon. So, Power School registration and enrollment. Power School has a platform that allows us to simplify registration. I've got a prop today. That's a document that has about 40 sheets of paper that we're going to try to move away from. in kindergarten registration. There's so many pieces of paper. If you've got kids in the school system, you know. If you've obviously worked in the school system, you know. And one of the things I'm so excited about for this registration is, one, we think it's going to simplify the process. I understand there's going to be a learning curve, no doubt about it, but with the technology we talked about that we have in our schools and also the technology that are in our homes now, we think this is going to be a great way to make it more convenient to be able to collect this data and be able to use it in a more timely fashion. For example, I'm excited that our nurses are not going to have to wait for a form to be filled out, brought back to school, put in their box by a data manager who goes through it, puts it in PowerSchool. Once this information is put into PowerSchool through technology, then we'll be able to access that immediately. Our nurses will be able to log in and see immediately any student whose parents put in the fact that they are diabetic. And Mr. Hicks is going to take us through that in a little bit, but the timeliness of information is going to be really an advantage. I've listed some other advantages here as well, building better communication with the families. This is going to require our families, our stakeholders, to go online to participate. We've always, and we're improving in our numbers as far as parents participating in the parent portal, but this is definitely going to increase our participation of parents in the parent portal. Reducing the amount of paper. Again, there's 40 pieces of paper here for a typical kindergarten registration, and we hope to get that down with this process to about 5 pieces of paper. And if you just look at the 2,700 kindergartners we have right now, that's 92,000 pieces of paper. And so that's a lot of trees. And so we're excited about that. It'll give an opportunity, although there'll still be some documents we collect from parents, like the certified birth certificate and those kind of things. It'll allow for securely uploading documents. Also, again, capturing student counts early to provide for adequate planning and staffing. One of the pieces of this program is the opportunity for a parent who's enrolling a student to also tell us about underage siblings that are in the home. That'll be coming to us in 2 years or 3 years. So that also helps us in the planning process. And then also improving compliance with mandatory reporting, home language survey, military connected families, migrant student information. It's kind of like Prego. It's in there. We've put all those different pieces in there. And so the next piece in our implementation steps, 1 and 2 have already been completed. We've created an action plan. We're working through that plan. We've collected the documents that we need to include in the plan. And although 3 and 4 are 95% complete, we continue to meet with stakeholders to develop the plan, whether it's child nutrition, exceptional children, to make sure that we're asking all the questions in this process that we need to ask in order to get rid of this paperwork. So number 5 and 6 on this list are for February and March. We're going to be training identified personnel to use this effectively and also educating our parents to the new process. Our deployment phases are number 1 in February. We'll take the live solution and we are going to ask for parent volunteers of rising kindergartners. We're going to also have selected staff to actually enroll students so we can manipulate the data and see where the issues are. And then phase 2, which is not far away, but kindergarten registration on the 29th. And we have a date because generally kindergartners gather at the school that they anticipate going to complete this process. But we hope through media and others getting the message out that a lot of folks will come to that meeting, and they've already done it online at home. And so that's never been an opportunity before. Well, they got this at school, took it home, and brought it back in a week, completed. And so we're excited again about getting this information. So kindergartners, March 29th, new student registration. As soon as this school year is over, middle of June, any new student coming in, we'll have it ready for all students. So kindergarten in March, all new students after this school year is over. And then there's a process for updating for returning students at the beginning of the school year. And so that'll be in August and September. We'll ask all of our parents, again, and this will get them online in that parent portal that we encourage them to use now. So Dan Hicks is here. He's going to take us quickly through some examples of the portal for your preview, and then we'll answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Hicks, it's good to have you here.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. So basically, what we're going to look at today, this is really the back end of the application. So this is actually the workspace that Mr. Stott and I have been working in, trying to fine-tune the application. So this is actually not what the parents would actually see. They would actually go to a link where they would actually create an account and then log in and then register their student. But the questions that you see here today are exactly the same questions they see. Our purpose today is just to kind of show you a little bit of the functionality of the form, and some of the questions based on the response or the answer that the parent gives can actually drive other options. So with that, we'll start here under, are we registering for the 2018-19 year? And we're going to answer yes to that. I know it's kind of hard to see up there, but this question reads, is this the first time your student has been enrolled in a North Carolina public school? If they answer yes to that, it's going to ask them, if this is your child's first time enrolling in a North Carolina public school, you are required to provide a current physical within 30 calendar days of enrollment. So there's actually a hyperlink here that they can click on, and it would actually open the health assessment that they would have to complete and bring into the school. Now, keep in mind, even though they do this online enrollment form, they still have to do a face-to-face with the school. So we're probably cutting the time down that they come to school. I think we talked maybe about an hour and a half for them to come to school and fill out that big packet of paper, to about 15 minutes at the school. So I think that's going to be a considerable savings in time for the parent. You'll notice too that a lot of these things have like required, which means that they have to answer the question. So right here it says, I understand the statement above, so they have to answer yes to that. Who is enrolling the student? So they click here, it gives you a drop down of who is eligible to actually enroll the student. So they have to choose that. I'm not going to take a lot of time, trying to fill out a lot of the information here, but you'll see the first name, middle name, last name. For example, I'm Robert Daniel Hicks, so I would have to put Robert Daniel Hicks, but there's also an option here that I can check. Check here if your student has a preferred name. So I could put Dan for that. So that's real helpful at the school level. Gender, date of birth, residential information, home phone number, secondary phone number. This information we're actually also using to collect in parallel with ConnectEd. So we can actually collect it here and import that or have it imported into ConnectEd. Then there's a statement here that says, that they understand that to complete the registration process, they have to have these items to show proof of residency. Okay. So here's an example. Here's where we're asking what grade they're enrolling in. So they would choose, for example, let's choose kindergarten. And when that happens, if you choose enrolling school, you'll notice that the drop-down only includes a list of elementary schools. So they can only choose elementary schools at that point. We're asking if the child must be 5 years old on or before August 31st, 2018. They have to actually answer this question saying, yes, my child is that age. Are you currently residing outside of Johnston County and planning to relocate to Johnston County? If they answer yes to this question, they have to put a date. When does your permanent anticipated residence in Johnston County begin? So they actually have to put a date there. And then this last question here says, is the residential address listed above a temporary living arrangement? And if they answer yes to that, it asks the question, is this due to financial hardship? If they answer yes to that question, you'll notice that they have to put an explanation of why that is, and then they can come down and it actually, based on some of those selections, this part of the form comes up, the McKinney-Vento at eligibility information, so they have to answer that information. And as Mr. Stott said earlier, we're taking the opportunity to collect information about future enrollments, projections. So this question asks, do you have other children residing in the home that are not yet of age to attend school? So if they answer yes, then it's going to say how many children live in the household. If they answer 2, they would put their first name, last name, date of birth, and student's race. And then you'll see that that's listed twice there, okay? So we'll move over to the additional tab, and I'm just going to, like I said, I'm just going to touch on a few of these. I'm sorry?
Yes.
So here's birth information, country of birth, birth city, ethnicity and race, kindergarten information, previous school information, agricultural occupational survey, internet access. So, you know, if they choose, they have to say yes, that they allow their student to participate on the internet. Home language survey. So we're collecting information about what the student, what first language they first understood or spoke, what language is mostly spoken at home, what does the student use most often, does the student use any other language at home or on a regular basis? Yes.
Since we have 26 languages spoken in Johnston County, are all those listed there?
I think they are listed there, yes. And we started with English and Spanish as our 2 primary languages and had those at the top.
65 languages. 65.
My apologies.
Also, part of this, we were, because this is a federal mandate, you know, we collect the family military information. So if a student has a relative that is actually in the military, they choose yes. And let's say it's their father, then it asks down here what branch of service. So we could say Army, active duty. It's going to ask what grade. We can just say E1 through E9. Installation, we can say they're at Fort Bragg. And they could actually type in their unit or squadron there. And then they'll type an electronic signature here to certify that information. And we'll look
And
at
that,
yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt, Mr. Hicks, we're out of time, but it's in there.
Yeah.
We'll be working really hard to make sure it's in there.
But this
and
is going to
we
help.
could-
I mean, it's not, I know it's helping the stakeholders, which is great, but it's going to help your
data
staff as well,
managers.
right? Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
instead of them taking this paper
40
product
pieces of
and
paper.
inputting the data,
Yeah.
it's in there, it'll be there. And so, but there's a lot of information. Again, yeses open up new information, nos keep it in some cases short, but we're excited about the opportunity to make it better for our parents and in the whole enrollment process.
That's
Any
awesome.
questions?
Any other
That's
questions?
awesome. That's awesome.
Mr. Hicks, Mr. Stott, thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys. Ms. Roberts?
Thank you so much to Mr. Hicks and Mr. Stott for the hard work that they continue to put into this major, major project. I'll just very quickly touch upon the news coverage summary. You already know how to stay abreast of the things that are happening in the Johnston County Public Schools, as well as our Save the Date information. As you know, our State of the District, mid-year State of the District address will occur on January the 23rd. It will be live streamed, so we're very excited about that, and we've gone on into February for you since our meeting won't be until the second week in February. Yes, ma'am.
Are the principals expecting us? I mean, they know we're coming, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Just to clarify, we're going to our feeder pattern high school, correct?
Thank you.
Ms. Wakers, you did send out you've already sent out a reminder of that date. That was for the holiday, correct?
Planning board, we continue to grow as a county. Of course, that's obvious. All you got to do is ride around the county and see what's going on vertically. Just going to Riverdale today is just housetop after housetop going up. But our February board meeting is February the 13th, 2018, 2 o'clock. Dr. Renfro.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would ask that we enter into executive session for the purpose of consulting with the Board of Attorney and to discuss personnel items in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 115C-319 and 143.318.11, subsections A1 and A3.
Entertain a motion. Motion by Ronald Johnston. Second by Todd Sutton. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. 3-minute break.